If you've ever been extremely overdue for a haircut, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook for Tuesday, May 13th. Coinbase is joining the S&P. The market is still holding up after its huge run yesterday. The president's in Saudi Arabia. We got a lot of stuff to break down, and that is all before we get CPI at 8:30. So we're going to have a big day here today. Anne-Marie, after our show here today, Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook for Tuesday, May 13th, starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. Great to have you back here for a Tuesday. I hope the rest of your Monday night was good. And for all you Celtics fans, I'm sorry. Good Lord, because you are in massive trouble now. Anyway, nice to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Kayla, great to see you first here today, Kayla. Well done. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. It's good to see you again. Pete, locked in and ready to go. Good to see you as always, my man. Paul, good morning. Mama Bear, good morning. Ivan and Jim, good morning. All Zorts and Jonathan, good morning. Sunkissed Yogi, Chuck, and Mike, good morning. Welcome back. Yassine, good morning. Brett and producer, good morning. Got that coffee locked in. Bernhard and day trader locked in. Jane, good morning. It's good to see you again. The judge is up and in here early. Nice to see you here, Judge. Are you a Knicks fan, Judge? Because if you are, you must be really happy today. Tyler, good morning. Anne-Marie, checking in even before her spot. Thanks for the support, Anne-Marie. You're the best. Can we smash up the like for Anne-Marie Band? We're going to have another awesome trade or an awesome set of trades put on here today. Bill, good morning. JJ, good morning. High performance mini boats. Let's go. Good morning. What's the intro song? I think that was just created by our team. Maybe they used AI. Maybe we had somebody on the ones and twos mixing it up. I don't know. They just put that together for me. The team made it. I don't even know if it has a name. White Chocolate Mocha, good morning. Ed, good morning. Tyler, he likes the Knicks. Let's go, Tyler. Tanya, it's great to see you again. Welcome back. Whis, we out here with you, brother. Kajits Hamal. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm sorry, but I was close. Good morning. Good to have you here regardless. Harris, good morning. Playa Gems. Good morning. Justine, welcome back. It's great to see you. ATL Russ, locked in. Let's go. Hunter, good morning. And Catherine, good morning from Texas, y'all. Oh, I'll take that all day long. Good morning, Catherine. Great to have you here. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right in. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to start with the SPY, and we'll go ahead and break down the different things that are going to happen today. And we'll talk about some of the news before we get T3 locked in here with Derrick. Okay, looking at the SPY here, obviously yesterday, just an absolutely massive day. I know that there was some talk about selling all the way back in and going red. LOL. We did a really good job of holding up near the highs. In fact, I'm really proud of our group yesterday. We talked about how there was likely going to be some profit taking after these headlines drove the market higher. And that is exactly what we saw. Market dipped a little bit as we came in, and we returned to the highs. And then we actually, right at the close there, punched through those highs and set some new ones. The important part about this is that this allows us to recapture the 582.30 level. And this is a level that level represents the 5% pullback from the all-time highs. This is just a calculated level. So I'm really unsure about how sticky or supportive or resistive, that's not a word, but it is now. It's just worth noting that we marked these levels off on the way down to measure the decline, and now we're starting to check them off on the way back up. So we'll see if we end up staying above this here today. S&P futures under a little bit of pressure ahead of today's open, down 0.14%. Dow futures down 0.5% here, and NASDAQ futures about unchanged, down 0.03%. So little bit of pressure, a little bit of red arrows across the board. Frankly, I don't think any of it matters until we get the CPI print here today. We did have some interesting calls that I saw here this morning. I took some notes of them so I didn't have to butcher them. JP Morgan sees a Fed rate cut in December. They were in September previously, so they're starting to push back their rate cut. Barclays expects Fed rate cut in December. They were saying that you might get a rate cut in July. So Barclays and JP Morgan both pushing all the way back to September. Barclays also does not expect U.S. to fall into a recession in the second half of 2025 versus the prior forecast of a mild recession. So it looks like some walkbacks are being done. We'll see where we end up. Nobody knows the future. We do the best that we can here. As far as levels here for today, the 582.30 definitely going to be one that I'm watching. I actually have 583.96 as the high print of the after hours session yesterday. Would love to see it get back above that. Furthermore, I think the next level that we would really want to take out here puts us at about 589 and then probably 595. We'll see if we get there here today. Really, like I said earlier, a lot depends on what we get here with the CPI. I think that should set the stage for today. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the morning update courtesy of Benzinga Pro. As mentioned, the big economic event, really the only one on the calendar worth noting here, is going to be the CPI. We're waiting for that. We are about 24 minutes away from that. You can see that the future's kind of mixed here. Bitcoin still having a good day. Still higher here in the pre-market by just about 2%. So looking pretty good there for Bitcoin. We do have the JP Morgan 53rd Annual Global Technology, Media, and Communications Conference here today. You can see that there is a bunch of companies that are going to be either reporting or have some type of slot in this conference. Maybe that makes some news here today. Some notable names on this list: Etsy, Logitech, SMCI, Affirm is on there. GoDaddy is on there. Intel is on there. Lam Research is on there. T-Mobile, AT&T is on there. Sezzle, which has been a huge for us recently, is on there. Hut, Dash, Match Group, Visa. So lots of prominent companies there for that event. We'll see if we get any headlines out of that event. For all you IPO players, we do actually have a handful or two of them here today. We have Perimeter Acquisition. That's going to be ticker PMTR. They're also doing a unit that's going to be PMTRU. I don't think we have anyone here that trades units, but nonetheless, they are good. That's going to be IPO here today. Perimeter Acquisition, PMTR. And then also Antalpha Platform Holdings, ticker ANTA. Both of these should IPO around $10, or at least that's the priced IPO. Well, I don't know when they're opening. We'll see how much demand there is for some of these. As far as some initiations in here, didn't really see anything. The one that was kind of funny to me is Mevis, MVIS. We've traded this mover off of the scanner a bunch of times. Kind of a junky company, if you ask me. D. Boral, giving a buy rating here and a $2 price target, not responding to that. As far as the earnings, we do have them listed here, but I'll go ahead and give you the nice little pretty graphic as well. Yesterday, we had Rigetti report, and they're getting slammed here today. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We do have JD.com here this morning. A number of other companies there. Some of the cybersecurity companies are starting to report. That's interesting. CyberArk went this morning. On Shoes, ticker ONON, that went this morning. The big one after hours here today, or I guess it's the big one, is going to be Oklo. OKLO. And I only say the big one because I know that that's followed and traded pretty often. But here's a look at some of the earnings. Got the biggest one is going to be on Thursday there in the morning with Walmart. Also, Boot Barn is going to be reporting. We actually talked about that recently just because we had some good performance there out of retail, or at least out of the retail stocks. So that's kind of what's going on with earnings there. Peloton caught an upgrade here today. Ticker PTON. Let me know if any of you are buying on that upgrade. LOL. And then downgrades here. There are a few of them, but nothing really notable, at least not for our group, in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about some of the news here real quick. I briefly wanted to go over the market overview story here. I don't think that was it. No, we talked about the drug prices yesterday. I think I just wanted to go for some quotes here. Yeah, here we go. We got a couple of tweets here from our guy, Ryan Dietrich from Carson Research. He highlighted in an X post that more than 55% of S&P 500 components made a new 20-day high yesterday. According to the historical data presented, the S&P 500 index ended 16.3% higher on average following days with such fresh 20-day highs. Out of 30 times this has happened, the index has closed the year on a positive note 29 times. 29 out of 30 times. Quote, "This is yet another clue. The lows are likely in and better times are coming." Here is the tweet itself. If anyone wants this, or if you don't follow Ryan Dietrich, you probably should. I know that this is not going to be a popular tweet amongst a lot of the group out there, thinking that the U.S. is in big trouble and all this stuff has to crash. I don't know, folks. I don't know. I hope you didn't miss that boat. We've been doing everything we can to try and tell you not to panic, produce some type of information that makes you feel confident on the trades. Just really, this is a huge move. I really do think that 480 marked the bottom and that might be in here. More clues. The lows are in for 2025. Here's a graphic that Ryan included in his tweet. And then here is the chart. And here you go. Let's see if we add to this or if we give a contrarian data point. This is absolutely good news for the bulls there. He goes on, the S&P 500 index has a year-to-date performance low of 15.3%. Dietrich highlighted that, quote, "Only 3 times in history has the S&P 500 been down at least 15% year-to-date and moved back to positive by the end of the year. Despite having only 3 such instances historically," he added that 2025 could be the 4th such year. Quote, "Call me crazy, but this year will be number 4. Here is a look at that chart. Like I said, this guy's research is amazing. He does a really, really good job. He's been not shy of sharing some of these points here, and I'm going to continue sharing them with you. So we'll see what we end up getting here. The action recently has been great. We'll see what we get out of some of this data and what the next move is for the market here. Okay. Who's going to buy $2 trillion worth of paper? Macro experts call the Wall Street rally, quote, "a headline sugar rush" as Treasury yields spike. So if you don't think Ryan is correct, well, here's some FUD for you. On Monday, Stephanie Pomboy, the founder of macro research firm Macro Mavens, rained on Wall Street's victory parade following the trade war de-escalation with the U.S. and China. Referring to the rally as, quote, "a headline sugar rush," end quote, Pomboy believes the market is misreading the situation. Quote, "To listen to the financial media, you'd think it was the final agreement, and it ain't," she said. So I'm going to pause here. And I'm going to shout out a number of our community members who were saying this yesterday, long before Stephanie went on this. You folks were saying, hey, I understand that the market's rewarding it. I understand it looks like good news. Please be advised that this is not over. Hat tip to all of you that were saying that. Day trader, I'm looking at you. There were some others in here. Hat tip to all of you on that. When equities rallied, treasuries were telling a different story, according to Pomboy. Quote, "The 10-year yield just surged to 4.45%, she said, calling the instrument recalcitrant." Really good vocab word there. Didn't think I was going to get that here today. Shout out, Stephanie. Given its growing unpredictability and lack of cooperation with macroeconomic signals, with more than $2 trillion in treasury issuance on the horizon and major foreign buyers like China pulling back, quote, who's going to buy the $2 trillion worth of paper? Well, of course she has a suggestion for that. The U.S. Treasury is expecting to issue new debt in 2025 to finance ongoing federal deficits. Recent projections include $514 billion in borrowing for the April to June quarter and $554 billion for July to September, with similar amounts in earlier quarters. On an annualized basis, total borrowing exceeds $2 trillion. She further warned that the Federal Reserve may ultimately be forced back into balance sheet expansion. Quote, the Fed is the only obvious candidate to absorb all of the issuance, end quote. Adding that the credit stress is growing despite a lack of response in the spreads. Quote, this is a structural fiscal problem. The market partying on tariffs, but the foundation is cracking. Last week, Michael Hartnett, chief investment strategist at Bank of America, echoed similar views, stating that 5% treasury yields could push the U.S. government to walk back on its protectionist trade policies. So which direction what do you think is going to happen here, folks? Producer, maybe we should throw up a poll here. Let's see, it's May. S&P 500, maybe not even specify the S&P 500. Broader market, higher, lower, the same 6 months from now. What does our group think here? Let's get a group. Let's get some data here from the group, I guess I should say, and figure out where we think we're going on that. Let me know if you can get that poll going, and then please vote in that as well. Okay. Next, let's talk. I gave you the Coinbase news. You know what? Let's take a look at the chart here first before we go into the news story. Let me pull up the Coinbase chart. Talk about that as the next news story. So here you go. I think what I like the most about this is that we drew what looks like an inverse head and shoulders on here, where we're like, I'm not sure how great this is going to be. And now we've got this piece of news that's driving us here. Coinbase trading up by 10% here this morning. Coinbase global shares are trading higher after it was announced that the company will join the S&P 500 effective before the opening of trading Monday, May 19th. So it's actually going to get in there next Monday, right? A week from yesterday, this will be part of the S&P 500. I have on here drawn the inverse head and shoulders that we were waiting for. Today, we get a pop. That pop took us above the 200-day moving average. And you folks know what that means. That is going to be one of our key levels here today. I've got that at 225.02. Let's just call it 225. That's going to be one of your downside key levels. One of your upside key levels, 229.10. Let's just call that 229. So 225 and 229, tight $4 range in there. The 100-day moving average is that 229. We'll see if we can capture that. We definitely want to stay above 225 because we want those three closes above the 200-day. I think that would bode well, especially with Coinbase being added to the S&P 500. If we're able to clear this area out, there might be some resistance up here, 247 to 250, maybe, but the next really big level is going to be up there at 278 and change. So this actually makes for a pretty decent swing trade opportunity if you think that Coinbase can keep trading higher. Day trader, I'd love to hear what you think about this. Do you think that this is a big deal? Is this a sell the news piece of news? Is this good for Coinbase long term? What are your thoughts here on this news as it pertains to Coinbase, and then maybe on Coinbase's future performance? Actually, I think this is what I think you already got to it, day trader. Textbook inverse head and shoulders. You're talking about coin, right? Because it sure does look like that here to me. The only thing that I would say is that this right shoulder, a little bit janky, right? Maybe a little bit. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, it sure does look like the head and shoulders is playing out here. Now, let's go back to the actual article itself. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood applauded Coinbase on its inclusion to the S&P 500 index, marking the first cryptocurrency company to achieve this milestone. Y'all know what I'm going to say next. Wood responded to Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong's announcement by congratulating both him and the company on X, calling the recognition, quote, well-deserved. She noted that while active managers like ARK Invest rely on fundamental research rather than index providers to select stocks, the inclusion of Coinbase in a major index would force index tracking funds to take notice. Quote, index-sensitive managers will be compelled to consider coin now, end quote. And I guess my follow-up question here is, do you think that this is the case? Do you think that this is really going to kind of broaden the acceptance for Coinbase and ultimately lead to higher prices for that asset? That's pretty much what I'm wondering on this. The S&P 500 addition represents a watershed moment for cryptocurrency legitimacy in traditional finance, potentially forcing index fund managers to allocate capital to the digital asset space. This is really the big takeaway for me. It really does seem like crypto is here to stay. I know I joke around about with some of the crypto bears that think it's going to zero. It's all in good fun. But honestly, just given some of the road signs that we see here, it really does look like this is here to stay. I know this gets compared to the tulip deal from hundreds of years ago. I don't see it. I really don't see it. So I'd love to hear from you folks what you think about all this. Bulls, bears, whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's get the entire opinion there on that. The tweet here was basically Kathy congratulating him. There's nothing really crazy in there. I kind of read that to you already. Wood has maintained an exceptionally bullish outlook on cryptocurrency markets. I know some of you folks don't really care for Kathy Wood and her investing style, so figured I might as well mention this. She maintained an exceptionally bullish outlook on cryptocurrency markets, recently reiterating ARK's forecast on Bitcoin reaching between 700,000 and 750,000 by 2030. In her bear case, or excuse me, in her base case with a bull case target of 1.5 million, she attributes the dramatic growth to potential Bitcoin's growth potential to Bitcoin's capacity to capture market share from gold. That's got to be a controversial opinion amongst some, I would imagine. Increasing institutional adoption and emerging market applications. The S&P 500 inclusion comes amid Coinbase's aggressive expansion efforts, including its recent $2.9 billion acquisition of crypto options exchange Derrick, and the launch of the 24/7 trading for Bitcoin and Ethereum futures through its Commodity Futures Trading Commission regulated exchange, making it the first regulated U.S. exchange to offer around-the-clock access to leveraged crypto devices. Okay, let me know what you think here on Coinbase. And if you don't really care about Coinbase, I get it. I would say let me know then what you think about Bitcoin in general. We have a lot of discussions here about Bitcoin, and I know that it's still somewhat controversial to some. So really interested in all of that. Day trader saying, no, this is a big deal. Institutions will add, my pension will be buying Coinbase now. Mine too. My IRA also. Okay. Lion, no surprise there. Lion is not a big fan of ARK. We'll see. Okay. Pete saying too much publicity for someone who has managed to lose money in a raging bull market. Okay. Feedback taken. Ivan, Kathy is notorious for selecting entry points, yet I think long-term it will work out, but it might have to be very long-term. Player is asking, what are your thoughts on CPI? Is it going to go above the forecast? No, I think we're probably going to be in line there. I would imagine 0.2 and 0.3 on the core. That would be my best guess, but we'll see here. I'm not like front running that print at all. So we're going to react to it, whatever it is. That data's coming here in 7 minutes. Okay. 1 of 7 billion saying the funny thing is Bitcoin has no real utility comparatively to Ripple and XLM. I've heard this quite a bit. The utility. Some folks compare it to gold, like it's a store of value. Maybe Bitcoin's going to be the same thing. I totally get it there. I don't think that's enough of a bearish case, though. And I certainly don't think that Bitcoin itself, as in BTC, is going to go away and make room for other cryptos like Ripple. I think that there's a 0% chance of that. If cryptos are going to be around, Bitcoin is here to stay, or at least BTC anyway. Okay. Next here. McDonald's. McDonald's launches massive summer hiring drive for 375,000 workers amid U.S. expansion plans and slumping sales. So let me get this straight. Sales are slumping, largely probably tied to the GLP-1 drugs because people can't eat this stuff when they're on those drugs. And you're going to increase people by 375,000? Not sure I get that there. McDonald's announced on Monday one of its largest hiring initiatives in years, seeking to add 375K employees across U.S. locations this summer as the fast food giant pursues aggressive expansion despite recent sales challenges. Okay, so you're going to try to add more stores without sales going up. You're going to hire more people. You know what other food companies been doing that for the last couple of years? Yeah, that's right. It's been Portillo's, and I've been trying to trade it, and it has been an absolute murder holding that stock. Not sure if this is going to work. Obviously, McDonald's with a lot more brand power. Joe Erlinger, McDonald's U.S. president, unveiled the hiring plan alongside the Department of Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer at a location in Columbus, Ohio, reported by NBC News. The initiative aligns with McDonald's strategy to open 900 new U.S. restaurants by 2027 and bolstering staffing for increased summer demand. I guess I didn't realize this is a thing. Do you folks go to McDonald's more in the summer than the winter? That seems counterintuitive to me. I mean, everything's open in the summer. You can walk around. There's all different types of food options. I feel like it's easier to, I don't know. That surprises me a little bit. Let me know if your McDonald's consumption goes up in the summer. Wasn't ready for that. The announcement comes amid broader economic headwinds for the company. Earlier this month, McDonald's reported its worst quarterly U.S. same-store sales performance since 2020, with a 3.6% decline that missed analyst forecasts of a 1.7% drop. Huge miss there. We've talked about this a lot. I really do think that the arc towards more healthy eating for better overall health, I think that is ramping. I see it in my own life, not just with me, but in others close to me. And then I also think the GLP-1 angle playing a huge role in some of these numbers that we're talking about here. That's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you folks think on that. Sure seems like they're misreading the room here. That's my initial take. We'll see if I'm wrong on that. Executives cited diminishing foot traffic as the primary factor, noting middle-income consumer visits fell by nearly double digits, alongside continued weakness among low-income customers. Quote, people are just visiting less. McDonald's told investors during its earnings call, pointing to spending cutbacks as consumers increasingly skip meals out or eat breakfast at home to save money. Skipping meals has been great for my overall health. It's not as if I was eating McDonald's all the time, but I totally understand that. And again, that's just kind of like the lifestyle change that I believe that we're seeing here. McDonald's leadership has explicitly acknowledged a divided U.S. economy where low and middle income consumers face persistent pressure from inflation despite strong traffic among higher income patrons. The company, which currently operates over 38,000 locations globally, good Lord, continues emphasizing value offerings, including $5 meal deals to attract price-sensitive consumers in challenging consumer environment. Man, I remember when they had a $1 menu at McDonald's and you could literally get a McDouble for $1, a couple of those and some chicken nuggets, and you were out with an entire meal for under $5. And it looks like that is the rarity now. James here says, I don't go either. I make better food at home. Yeah, I bet. I bet that you do. Me too. Justine, I don't go to McDonald's at all. Paul says, give me a biggie bag from Wendy's. Bag Bros. Am I right, Paul? Oh, that makes me laugh. Probably shouldn't. Okay, so what do you think here on McDonald's? Do you think that this is a potential short? Is this or maybe not? Is this tradable news? Sure looks like McDonald's has some pretty significant resistance up here around 320. See if we're able to get back down, or excuse me, we'll see if we're able to get through that. I do have a trend line going here. I'd like to see us try and move back to that trend line before taking a trade. Also worth noting, going back pretty much all of 2024 and 2025, your volume point of control right in here at 293 and a half. Okay, CPI is coming in 2 minutes, and Michael's bringing this. UNH getting clapped again this morning. They pulled yearly guidance. So before we get to our guest here from T3, I do want to talk about UNH. The reason here is because someone asked our group yesterday, literally yesterday on the show, and I'm sorry, I'm totally dropping the ball here. I cannot remember which one of you asked, so I cannot shout your name out here. If this was you, please let me know. But we were asked yesterday, is this okay to buy yet? Is this okay to buy yet? And we looked at the chart and we said, with no knowledge about what was going to happen here this morning, we took a look at this chart and we said, gosh, this sure doesn't look like it's found a bottom yet. Maybe this turns around and bounces, but I think you're probably catching a falling knife at this point. We had multiple trend lines that it's staying below. It is not showing any signs of kind of turning around or bottoming yet, and we advised against it. Now we get this news here today. Shares are trading lower as the company suspends its full year 25 guidance. The company announced the appointment of Stephen Hemsley as the CEO. So you're getting a big change there. That's driving UNH lower. I really hope that we protected someone's capital yesterday, because good Lord, that timing was incredible. CPI is out. CPI year over year for April, 2.3 versus the 2.4 estimate. How about that, folks? The prior read, 2.4. CPI month over month for April, 0.2 versus the 0.3 estimate. That's exactly what I just told you I hoped it would be. U.S. core CPI year over year for April, 2.8 versus the 2.8 estimate. The prior read was 2.8. The inflation number does not seem to be a problem so far. Market going higher on that news. We'll see if we hold it. Okay, let me get my chart back on here. We're actually going to put the SPY up here. I'm going to go to an intraday chart just so I can be ready. Here's that popping above that 582.30 level. But folks, it's Tuesday, and it's a T3 Tuesday. So let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Derrick Oldensmith. Derrick, good morning, my man. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Doing all right. We just got the CPI number coming out, a little bit lighter than expectations. So we got a small pop on that. We'll see what it turns into.
Yes, sir. Sorry to keep you waiting, but had to get to that CPI print. All right. Would love to know, first of all, I guess we just start there. Do you have any thoughts about this particular print? Does this lead to any trades to you or trading ideas for you? How are you kind of digesting this?
So this print, I think the data on it's a little bit stale because you're not really seeing the impact of tariffs yet, right? So I think it's not going to be until we see the main numbers in June that you see whether or not these tariffs really are creating inflation or they're not. There was some speculation that maybe they could seep a little bit into the April numbers. But when you think about that, like de minimis exemption that we got rid of, that didn't happen until the first weekend in May. So you're not going to see those numbers, for example, in this inflation report. So the number came in light. That's good. It's definitely what the market wants. If we can get consistently light inflation numbers, it gives the Fed a little bit more runway to be able to cut potentially a little bit sooner than they would otherwise. But most immediately here, even though we're having a small uptick, I want to see where this settles. And I don't necessarily think it's actionable. Whenever we have an important economic number like we just had, one of my rules that I always do is I pay attention to the starting point of the market before that number hit. So just going with the SPYs as an example, right before this number hit, the SPY was at basically 582.50. So 582.50 is really going to be what I call my starting point on a very small time frame. If we continue to hold above 582.50, it means I'm better off being long than short. But if for some reason you were to lose that number, you were to lose that starting point, then it means that all of these rushed in buyers and algorithmic buyers are then out of the money. And then a lot of times you can actually see a quick move to the other side. So I always start whenever we have these numbers, let's note the starting point for SPYs, 582.50. Let's note the starting point for the Qs. I'm going to call it 508.50. And let's note the starting point as well for the IWM, which I will call 208.60. So I'm writing those levels down. Again, while we're above it, you're better off being long than short. But if you lose it, that's notable because it means that they would actually be selling good news. And anyone that immediately bought the reaction becomes out of the money and you get a move in the other direction. So that's what I'm looking for initially. That's on the very small time frame though, right? So that's not enough context. We need to think about that in terms of the bigger picture as well. And the bigger picture has this market a bit extended now because yesterday's gap was so big and we closed on highs off of the news from the China-United States tariff pause. So, for me, generally speaking, I don't like chasing extension or chasing after big moves occur. So even though the CPI came out good and we're immediately trading up, it's not something that I would really chase here just because of where we're at on the big picture.
Okay. That was absolutely phenomenal. That was that's even more than I had hoped for when I had asked you that question. Folks, really good stuff there. I did write those levels down. By the way, I don't know if you care at all about this, but you had mentioned 582.50 as being one of those important levels there for the SPY. 582.30 is my calculated 5% pullback level from the all-time highs. So to me, it's no coincidence that we happen to be sitting around that area. There. Let me ask you, so just because that was so in depth there, what do you think it would take for the SPY in particular to set new all-time highs here in 2025?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I know.
We've had such an incredible move off of lows that we really are only kind of a hair away from all-time highs. Like you said, 5% off all-time highs, more or less where we're trading here, actually a little bit less than that. So it's not that big of a move to get that extra boost higher. I personally think that we are starting to get closer to a shorter term top at this point. So, I mean, look, we have a whole half of a year left, and my bigger picture thought processes can sometimes go out a couple months. They don't typically go out 6 months, a year, 2 years, just because there's so many moving parts. Things change so rapidly, especially in this environment. We get market moving news events seemingly 5 times a day. Could we get back to all-time highs? Sure. Let's get some more trade deals done. Let's get tariffs back down. Let's get tax cuts to happen, and it can get us back to all-time highs. But in the more immediate picture, I think that this really, really big rally that we've had has been caused by 2 main things. And I've been talking about it for the last several weeks. It's a positioning squeeze combined with headline risk being to the upside. And you combine those 2 factors, they're just feeding off of each other. It's enabled this market to have an incredible rally. I mean, forget about where we were on lows on April 7th. It was just Monday 3 weeks ago that the SPY was at 508.50. Now I'm looking at a SPY at 584.
I know, it sucks. I'm sorry for interrupting there, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it has been a wild ride. You made a really good point there too about the run that we've been on, how maybe we're a little overcooked. One of the things that we had talked about yesterday, I think it was actually in the happy hour show, is that we would really like to see the market consolidate here for a little bit, right? We don't necessarily want to see these huge moves up followed by huge moves back down. And then I'd love to see it maybe consolidate around this line here. You want some numbers? Let's say maybe between 578 and 585. I feel like if we consolidate a little bit up there, that would actually kind of reset some of these overbought metrics that we have and maybe give us some runway for those new all-time highs. I love how you tied in some of the macro things in there. I don't think we get all-time highs without some more good macro news. Obviously, the China deal, probably the big one there. Okay. Really good stuff. God, I forgot to even do the read. Trade with Derrick all next week for free in his Pro Desk virtual trading for May 19th through 23rd. QR code on the screen. Link is in the chat. Derrick, I'm sorry. I got so excited asking you about what you think here. I forgot to go into that. All right, is there any other, well, I shouldn't say, is there any other? What other targets are you looking for? What other stocks to trade, setups, anything like that? What are you looking for?
Sure. So in this environment, I really take a top-down approach where I start with the indexes before I look at any individual stocks. So I have to have my thought process correct at the index level before I can break it down into any individual names. And going back to the concept of what has brought us higher has been a combination of a positioning squeeze with upside headline risk. I think both of those things are getting close to running out of steam. So it makes me significantly less bullish as we get into this area. Once we got through this first UK deal, just talking about the headline risk first, and then we can talk about positioning risk. Once we got through this UK deal, and then we got the China headline, I don't really know what else is out there from a headline risk perspective that really could boost us further. Everyone knew, like, all right, if we can get something done with China, it's great. If we can start seeing some trade deals done, it's great. But what did UK tell us? UK told us what the baseline is. I don't care how good of an ally you are. I don't care how good of terms you offer. You're not getting tariffs from the United States below 10%. It's not happening. That's what the UK told us. So that's the best case scenario. And I think that the market is starting to price in that best case scenario for many of these trade deals. Then on top of that, over the weekend, the China-US deal was significantly better than pretty much any analyst that I had read expected. A lot of people thought we might come down to like 40% tariffs with China. The number came in significantly lower than that with this 90-day pause. It was a best case scenario. What other headlines are out there that could really, really push this market higher at this point? I'm not sure. I think it's mainly becoming priced in. Two is the positioning squeeze. What happened in April, that movement lower, that volatility that we saw was historic. It exceeded in some ways the degree of volatility, the degree of movement we even saw in COVID when the entire world shut down. And that forced all the systematic funds out there to liquidate, to be net short, to have zero positioning on. And we've just seen over the course of the last few weeks that they are forced buyers in every scenario. This week, right now, is the first week where that forced buying is not gone. It's beginning to slow down. So they're beginning to run out of this short-term ammo to really boost the market higher. And you can see it. Market structure is one of the most important things, I think, to understanding how to trade. And the way that the market has been trading, you saw it last week. Last week, we did have a little bit of a consolidation week. But midday, every day, there was this really, really strong underlying bid to this market. And we would just kind of go sideways or grind up all day. And then we'd see these quick sell-offs into the close. Why is that? It's because all day there's a systematic bid, and then that systematic bid turns off into the close. So that data is really important, and we're starting to get to the point where that's beginning to run out. Then if you can combine that with maybe some worsening economic numbers that might hit in June as we really see the impact of the tariffs, I actually think that for the first time in this area, we're really starting to see the risks accumulate more to the downside again than the upside. So that's kind of my starting thought process. I'm still, I think, a little bit early trying to be on the bear side, but it's something I'm really starting to pay attention to for a signal, especially as the market really begins to extend up yesterday with the news, and again today with the CPI number that just came down, which we're now actually selling back down a little bit on even as we're talking. So what stocks do I want to go after off that? So now we break it down. Understanding kind of the market thought process, understanding some of the technicals in the market, what I'm beginning to look for there. Now we break it down to what stocks are relatively strong, what stocks are relatively weak, where can I focus on things? Well, right now, semiconductors look fantastic. So it's not necessarily something that you want to be short. NVIDIA broke out through 115. It's also being positively impacted with Trump in Saudi Arabia right now with the potential reopening of some of these semiconductors to them. So those things look phenomenal. How about this Palantir, though? Palantir is an interesting one, right? Palantir, they sold that down off that earnings report after it basically went parabolic into the report. And granted, the report was actually excellent, but the stock was up probably too much into it.
Yep.
And then yesterday it showed a lot of relative weakness as it got into the gap fill. So that's an interesting level to pay attention to. It looks like there's some resistance in Palantir now in this like 120 to 123 area, or maybe I can lean on that to the short side to find some continued resistance if I can get this market to pull back a little bit. So that's an interesting one to pay attention to. What about some of these other Mag 7 stocks? Well, Google looks absolutely horrendous ever since that news came out a handful of trading sessions ago. That's one to keep an eye on for the short side, honestly, as long as it doesn't really get back above 165. 165 is a key level. Back above that, the chart will begin to look really bullish again. Apple's also an interesting one because it's still beneath its 215 resistance. That's a spot to pay attention to. Apple should have performed much better yesterday. That news of the pause with China should directly impact Apple in a very positive way. And it didn't perform as well as I would have expected. And one of my favorite signals in all of trading is when a stock doesn't trade as good as it should on good news. Sometimes it's a signal for the opposite direction. Or when it trades better than it should on bad news, like Tesla has done repeatedly recently, that can sometimes be a signal for the other direction. Tesla, not great earnings report, went up on it. And I think it was last week we had bad news come out on Tesla 3 days in a row, and the stock didn't go down, and the technicals held in great. We saw bad numbers out of Spain, followed by bad numbers out of the UK, followed by bad numbers out of China, and the stock could not downtick, it couldn't break lower, built out this beautiful consolidation between like 270, 275-ish, and 295 on the upside. Then on top of that, this goes back to market dynamics. We started to see a ton of bullish option flow come in. That bullish option flow can create a gamma squeeze that can cause those stocks to rip higher. And lo and behold, Tesla continues to trade great. It's a little bit extended here. I wouldn't chase it because I don't chase price, but that's one to keep an eye on for a reset up for a potential long. Maybe if the market pulls back and you could get a retest of Tesla like 300 to 305, that's something that you could buy.
Let me jump in here real quick on Tesla because this has been a really important move, and I'm really glad that you highlighted all of the things that you just did. We were talking about that too, and the option flow especially. I have actually been watching option flow the last several weeks, and I've noticed a significant tick up there in Tesla. Last time we talked to you, I believe Tesla was a short for you, and you were mentioning that the PE was just too high. Are you still kind of, now that we've had this move up, are you looking for levels that make a little bit more sense to reopen that short, or has that kind of changed just in general?
It's definitely something I'm going to pay attention to because I do think that the stock is expensive. Tesla short is actually one of my best P&L names of the entire calendar year of 2025 so far. I did really, really well with that. But you can't get married to ideas, especially when it comes to fundamentals, because a stock can stay irrational for way longer than I can stay solvent. So do I have like a general bearish take on Tesla because, well, like I just said, we just saw 4 pieces of bad news come out, one after the next after the next. That earnings report from Tesla was not good. They're not selling cars in Europe. They're not selling cars in the UK. They're not selling cars in China. The stock is still expensive. I personally think that Elon did a lot of damage to his brand. Not brain, brand.
Well, he was on Rogan ripping blunts, so maybe that's true also. Anyway.
It's more, and this is not a Republican Democrat thing. It's just politics is bad business. Especially,
no question.
It's like, when it comes to electric vehicles, I've got friends on the right and on the left. My friends who are on the right, they don't want to buy an electric vehicle. My friends who are on the left, they want to buy an electric vehicle as long as Elon Musk didn't sell it to them. So I just see brand erosion there combined with an expensive stock. It makes me not want to be long it, but I'm not shorting good technicals. I'm not shorting a stock that's reacting well on bad news. Like that's just you can be stubborn and lose money, or you can wait until your thesis actually lines up with the technicals and the information to look for a short. So while I've done really well short Tesla this year, it's wait and see mode right now until we get a little bit of a better setup. And if anything, right now it looks for a long, and I've called out several longs in this over the course of the last couple of weeks just off of technical setups.
Okay, for folks, I hope you were paying attention to that Tesla segment because there was so much gold in there. I don't even know what to make of it. Really, really good stuff there, Derrick. Absolutely love all of that. One more stock that I want to ask you about. I think, again, we talked about this last time. I think you were bullish and long on Uber. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to go from memory here. And I think that you had a robo-taxi thesis along with this. So since then, we've had some more. First of all, since then, Uber has made a massive move to the highs here. Actually, it looks like it broke out of this kind of triple top formation that we have. What is your view here on Uber? Same, changed? How has this evolved?
So I like Uber a lot, and I'm not a pairs trader, but I had basically been calling for a while for a pairs trade that was like long Uber, short Tesla, and for the most part, that's worked out really well. And Uber's continued to hold in like an absolute champion in the big pullback in April compared to the market. Uber barely went down. It held in fantastically well, and I just think that they've got such a huge leg up on the robotech. Like this is another part of the bull thesis on Tesla that I don't necessarily subscribe to. If you're a bull on Tesla, you're basically pointing towards businesses that Tesla is going to have that haven't even started yet and saying that these are going to be the revolutionary businesses that justify their PE. But it's like you're acting like there's not going to be competition for robots. You're acting like there's not going to be competition for robo-taxis. And when it comes to an infrastructure for ride hailing, Uber's already got the infrastructure. Everybody's already got that on the app. You're going to have to download an entire new Tesla app to get the Tesla ride. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to do that. But Tesla's going to have to spend a lot of money to catch up to the moat that Uber has built for themselves. And then there's the whole logistics part of like, what happens if someone is drunk and gets sick in the back seat of that robo taxi? Well, Uber's already got that infrastructure fully built out. Tesla has to build all of that or buy into something else. I actually think that Tesla should buy out Lyft. I don't know if they can afford to do it, but I think that would be a great acquisition. Lyft has been so beaten up. They're the secondary player, but they already have that infrastructure. People already have the app. Like I think that would be a phenomenal buy for Tesla if they can afford to do it. I haven't done any research beyond just the concept of the symmetries there. But Uber still looks great too.
So I actually have something to add slightly to that Tesla Lyft thing. I actually think you're spot on with that. I did not expect you to say that. That's a great call. We saw back in March, we saw some pretty extreme upside call buying on Lyft through the unusual option flow. And I believe they were the 20 calls. And my thought at the time was, this looks to me like somebody knows there's a deal happening. I obviously didn't have, any insight into that at all. Your Tesla idea here makes a lot of sense, right? Imagine the amount of data that Tesla would be able to take from the Lyft acquisition and what they'd be able to do with robo-taxi and full self-drive. And that to me makes a lot of sense. We'll see if we end up getting that there. Okay. Really good stuff. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover that maybe I didn't ask you about here? This has been absolutely fantastic, Derrick.
I think we mainly covered the main points on my end, and I appreciate you having me like always.
Okay, sounds good. Trade with Derrick all next week for free in his ProDesk virtual trading floor, May 19th through 23rd. Give that QR code a scan. The link is in the description. Derrick, again, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day here. We'll catch up with you next time, all right?
Thanks, Ryan. See you next time.
You got it. That is Derrick Oldensmith from T3. Tell you what, the T3 guys are fantastic from top to bottom. It's one of my favorite segments of the week. I hope you folks take as much value from this as I do. And again, these guys are great. They answer all of my questions. They never dodge a question, which is something else. If you folks have feedback or there's anything, if I'm not asking about the right stocks or the right strategy or something like that, give me that feedback. I'd be happy to ask them. We are grateful for their participation there. Okay. Speaking of being grateful, here's 13. 13, we're grateful for you. Welcome, my man. Happy Tuesday. How you doing today?
Well, I'm having a good morning. How's everybody else out there? How are you doing this morning?
Dude, I'm doing great. I had extra caffeine in my coffee, and now I'm working on some Irish breakfast tea. We got a market that's trading up a little bit post CPI. I'm good, man. I'm breathing air. I grounded earlier today, so we're good.
Yeah, CPI was looking pretty good. March had oil pretty low, so was pretty optimistic about that. Don't know about next month. So far, it looks like oil crude is on the rise this month, so might get a hotter CPI print next month. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
1 month at a time. Yeah. We'll deal with that when we get there. Indeed. Also, Jay Harris asking here, Ryan, are you going to short Tesla? I think I actually saw you. Yeah, you were asking earlier, short Tesla. So one of the things, just to kind of recap there, I had asked Derrick about Tesla. He had told me that Tesla was one of his best shorts on a P&L basis. The last time we had him, he actually talked about a Tesla short. And he cited the PE being too high. So that's what I asked him about. He went through how, despite releasing a bunch of bad news, the stock continued to trade up. The chart looks great there. Even if you think that Tesla is a short, got to be really careful with that one. Hasn't worked out yet. So I actually just closed up a levered Tesla long yesterday. So I have no position on Tesla. I am going to be looking for one. But no, Jay Harris, I do not have a short trade planned. That could change. We'll see. All right, 13, what do you want to start with here? You want to do movers? You have any stocks you want to go over? Do you want to take a look at the CPI? Do you have a thought on that you want to share with the group? You call the ball. We'll go whichever direction you want.
Well, it was interesting when you were posting some of that information about how Barclays and JP Morgan, they were talking about rate cuts in December. And I just think that might be a little late, but we'll see what happens.
So real quick there, just to kind of reiterate, I know that you basically covered it there. Barclays expects Fed rate cut in December versus July previously, and JP Morgan sees a rate cut in December versus September previously. So it looks like they're pushing that back a little bit.
Yeah, and unless it's going to be like a large rate cut, I think that might be a little too late. I think they're going to start cutting sooner than later.
Too late, Jerome? Did I just hear that from third? Oh,
it's
my.
Weird, huh? The guy has a knack for being on time. Anyway,
that's good.
Yeah,
stuff.
one of the things that I was looking at with the CPI were some of the things that I was noticing last year that were making me, come up with all those different targets for the rate cuts, which we ended up getting. I liked how we were starting to get food at home to come down. That was actually substantial. So. Yep. The grocery prices, those are coming down as the CPI is indicating. That's good. You have some fuel types that are coming down, but then you get into some other services, which is where I think is going to need to focus on for rate cuts. You have let me see here. You have shelter services that were up. So housing services are up over last month. Just some of the things that I'm keeping an eye on. Anything that's tied to a service where there's a human element involved, that's where I'm watching for whether or not they go up or down. Because if they start to go up, then I think that's going to lead to the idea that, at least in my opinion, that rate cuts need to happen sooner than later. The same thing that happened last year. We were seeing some of these services, not so much the commodities, but the services that has a human element tied to it, go up. As labor was becoming more expensive, it's going to be more expensive for these businesses that have to borrow money in order to pay their staff. So you want to see these rates come down so that the borrowing that these businesses are going to need to do can continue to pay their staff and function as a company. That was the whole thought as to why we needed to have rate cuts last year.
Yeah,
and that's what we ended up getting. And we're still getting inflation to come down. But this print that we got this morning, sideways on core, but still a little bit lower month over month and year over year.
And I think that is helping here. S&P futures still holding higher here, up by 0.05%. Remember, we were negative prior to that print. Couple of things to clean up here real quick. ATL Russ, how do you get the extra caffeine? Caffeine. Oh my Lord, Ryan.
There's a new brand. Let's print it.
These are the symptoms of having more of that, by the way, Russ. So just be careful. How do you get the extra caffeine in your coffee, Ryan? LOL. I'm a fairly new coffee drinker. I do it for energy. Yo, real talk here, Russ. I did it for energy too when I started decades ago at this point. Didn't necessarily care for the taste. Did it for the energy. Couldn't literally get through my day without it. And then I developed a taste for it. And that's when everything changed for me. So I hope that happens for you too. It is literally one of the most pleasurable parts of the day. How do I get the extra caffeine in it? Well, my primary coffee is Nespresso pods, which makes a large espresso shot. And then I top it off with hot water to make what's called an Americano. And I selected this morning. I said, you know what? We're going to have CPI today. We got T3 coming on. We had some crazy sports last night. Maybe I watched a little too much of that. I'm going to add some extra caffeine. So I actually selected the flavor that has boosted caffeine in it. And it works. Just straight up, it works. So the way I'm able to do that, I literally select the flavor that has more caffeine in it, which I bought on purpose. So in any case, okay. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything else here. Lion wants to take a look at FedEx. Let's do that, Lion. No problem at all. Okay, let's do that, 13, and then we can go to the movers, and we can start up the morning action gainer analysis team here. Wink, wink. So let's take a look here at FDX first, and then we'll go ahead and knock out some of those movers. Now, I'm going to let you start with this because I'm pretty sure that, okay. I might be mixing up your positions. Are you a UPS or a FedEx holder, or do you hold both? What do you think here on this chart?
UPS. I'm a
holder. Okay, so I got that mixed up.
Yeah, that's okay. So this is now having its second day above its 50-day SMA, looking like it's on the recovery. I'd say that the $240 level is going to be a big area to move over. I'd say that that's going to be the near-term resistance. You can see that was support all through March when it got down here. We lost it, recaptured it, held above it, and then of course Tariff Day or Liberation Day happened, and that's what finally got us to break down and stay beneath it. Now we're coming back up. I'm looking at 240 area as resistance, so that's what I'd be keeping an eye on for that. We cannot get above that, then might experience some more downside. That's what I'm seeing here with FedEx as far as the level goes.
Okay, I'll say, just looking at the chart here, this 250 level, I've got the volume point of control and easily the largest volume shelf marked off here, 249.77. I think at this point I'm probably just going to call that 250. The way I look at FedEx here, Lion, I'm curious to know what you're thinking as far as trading FedEx here. Also, are you using options to do this? Is this one of your leap trades? I can't remember, so I don't want to assume. So let me know what you're thinking here on FedEx. I'll be honest, though, with things kind of feeling like maybe they're turning around here. That's not the most popular opinion, but it certainly does feel like that to me. If we're able to get maybe two more closes above this 50, I honestly think that a move back up towards 250 is probably in the cards.
I do like your 250 level as well.
Yeah.
I drew a horizontal line there, and it goes back beyond before the pandemic. So I do like that level as well. So let's just say 240 for a resistance breakout spot, and then 250 after that. Two solid levels before we get to some of those longer term moving averages.
Okay. Lion, let me know what your trade plan is there. Knowledge Drop. First of all, love your name. That is an awesome YouTube handle. Never seen you low energy, Ryan. Surprised you even need coffee. Thankfully, I don't have a 24-hour stream going. And by the time you see me every day, I am normally 2 coffees deep. That's what gives me my cheery, glass half full disposition towards the day. Much like the Hulk, I don't think you want to see me when I'm low energy prior to coffee. That's just me. We'll see here. What were you trying to say there? I think I ran you over.
Oh, just saying that this is probably an old joke, but Jay Harris had a pretty funny joke that I internally laughed at.
This one? Remember, FedEx and UPS are going to merge, and the new companies are going to call Fed Up, and that's where you send all your X's.
So apparently they have a facility in Texas, since that's where all the X's go.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Now I do own just UPS and not FedEx. I could own both, but I'm just going to go with the one that pays the better dividend. If the concern is, hey, this isn't this FedEx taking UPS's business. In a sense, I guess, but here's the thing. When UPS was delivering for Amazon, they had high volume, but those margins were god awful. So I don't think that this is really a loss here. FedEx wants to take on that burden of spending more for higher volume but lower margins. That's fine. They can have it. I'm happy with where UPS not being attached to Amazon in that way.
Okay. Captain Cloudy saying resistance 245. Sure
Perfect.
seems like we've got 245 to 250 as a resistance level there.
Yep, right in the middle.
Really good stuff. Okay. Kaushik, let me know if I'm butchering that. I'll try and do better. Wants to take a look at Apple. Added to the list. We'll absolutely do that. Shiva, I think she wants to take a look at Citigroup. I think I'll add that to the list too. Brett, you had asked about Zim. I've added that to the list, but I think we can take care of your question here real quick. What are the nuances in Zim? Always seems to have a giant dividend. I'll let 13 talk about this because he's been really studied on this, and he's actually got me on Zim, but they pay a very special dividend based on the business that they did. That's why it looks so odd.
Yep.
And it's not regular.
So if they don't have a good quarter or good year, if their sales aren't up or they don't meet a certain threshold, they're not going to pay a dividend. So that's fine. They're gonna their margins will increase. Just give this time.
Yeah. And then Alex, you want to take a look at Coin? I'll add this to the list, but be advised, we actually already covered Coin here today. That was actually one of the big stories that we had when Coinbase being added to the S&P 500. I think this is bullish. I had asked the group earlier. They pretty much thought across the board, this is good news. I just went ahead and threw the link to that story there in the chat. I'm sure we'll come back to Coin here today, but for, excuse me, but for the time being, let's pound out these movers and then we'll get to Apple, Zim, C, and Coin as we have time and throughout the day. Also, keep in mind, we do have Anne-Marie today. Today. So if you want to set up option trades on any of those, we'll be able to do that too. Izzy, good morning. It's great to see you. He wants to take a look at Archer. They reported earnings. Nice. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that as well. Okay. Now I'm rambling because of the coffee, and we need to get through this movers list here. We're going to start with LOBO. This is Lobo EV Technologies. This is the top mover on the list here today, plus 137%. Lobo EV Technology shares are trading higher after the company issued year-over-year increase in its full year 25 revenue guidance. This popped to above 350. It's retraced about 70% of that move. We actually lost the VWAP in the process. So as far as this for a potential trade here, this one's fairly easy for me. I would be trading this against 150. Move beneath 150. I think this is probably a really good stop level. The closer you can get it to 150, the better. As far as a first target here, we would really need to snap above 2 in order to reach that VWAP at 230. It looks good on paper. I don't know if we're going to get this. That's kind of what I have for the levels here. Let me take a quick look around the horn, and then we'll go to 13 for a breakdown on it. If you covered this one, I didn't even ask you. Percent of float shorted here, 0.16% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. On average, this stock is not even out there or not even popular. The stock trades on average 52,000 shares. Today, we've traded almost 50 million shares. So obviously the PR bringing the eyeballs here and accounting for the huge move to the upside. Float 4.28 million shares. What do you think here on LOBO?
Back in October, we traded this one on some similar news. They had provided an update on their business and what they were forecasting for the year. Today is no different. They are providing a fiscal year 2025 guide. This is a Chinese name. It's a manufacturer of e-bikes and other, transportation, light transportation vehicles of, on 2 wheels essentially. And we, back when we traded this one in October, I had made a comment about, well, this is probably getting some good business because over in China, what's been happening is they've been really trumping up these charges for people on their motorcycles or scooters, where they're parking, licensing usage, and they've been seizing them, which in turn makes them have to go and buy more. So not surprising that they're still having some good business here because these things, they pump these things out, they get used. Sometimes they crap out early, or they get seized, or they just combust because they're electric and their batteries aren't great, and they're left to have to buy more. So that's the cycle I was seeing with this and how they were involved. I don't know how much of that is true, but that's just all the different little bullet points getting put together from what I've been seeing. No income read on this, so don't exactly know how much money they're making aside from what they were saying in their update, their guide. and don't really have much on the balance sheet either. So that's about all.
Yeah, doesn't sound great. Sounds like this is trading on hopes and dreams, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, but I'm not finished because after October 7th, once we got that big news that drove it up into the threes, and we closed, I think it was above $3. Very next day, we started our journey back down and even lower under $1. So, this is not going to be one that I would even think about holding. I don't think anybody else should think about holding it either. It's going to be a day trade, probably a really good one, but let's just understand what the risk is here.
Yeah.
This is a name that if you hold on to it, you're likely going to see this price go down, down, down.
Okay. Really good breakdown there. It does look like it's trying to bust through too. Maybe it does make that move to the VWAP there, but you did a really good job highlighting all of the risks there. A couple of comments I want to clean up here real quick. Jay Rice saying, no Rebecca Lobo for me. I get where you're going with that, but here's the reality, Jay, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. She's way too tall for you. That would be odd. She's way too tall. She needs a very, very tall person, someone even taller than me, to be quite honest with you. Joe here saying, nice bit of government business collusion they got going on there in the school world. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. Next on the list here, CNSP. This is CNS Pharma here. CNS Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced the transfer from Cordis Biosciences of orphan drug designation for one of its drugs, TPI 287. So getting a pop here up towards 350. Looks like it topped out there 339. We've retraced some of the move, but unlike Lobo here, we didn't totally break down. On the pullback, buyers actually stepped in and gave us some pretty good buying sticks there as well. This tried to get back above the VWAP and hold above the VWAP. We're fairly close, so I don't want to write this thing off yet. Quick look around the horn here. 21.4% of the float shorted, and that with the new print is a significant increase. Actually, it looks like it's almost a complete double from the read prior. Days to cover on this, 4.43, and that's on an average volume of just about 500,000 shares. Today, we've traded 51.5 million shares, so we should be able to take care of that. Unsure if we're going to see any real big squeeze action here today, despite some of those inflated numbers. Float here, 2.94 million, 13. Lay it on us. What do you got?
So this company announced that it received orphan drug designation for its drug TPI 287. That's for glioblastoma, brain cancer, basically. So their orphan drug designation opens a door to, or a pathway for financial assistance and approvals. Basically, it's a little bit of a cutting of the red tape. They have about 1 to 2 quarters of cash, but an offering is on the table. And here's the interesting thing about this is that they had filed for an offering last month, but that ended up ending. And then we're going to sell like over 5 million common shares and warrants. The commons would have been for $1.34 a share, $1.34 a share, with the warrants exercisable at the same price. Now a new offering is on the table. That ends May 30th. So if this one expires, they'll likely file another one. Yeah, exactly. There it is. Perfect. Thank you, Jonathan. So that offering now with even more shares, but the price that they're looking at is $112 for the commons, and the warrants exercisable at the same price. So that is on the table. Just be aware of that if you're going to trade this. This might actually have a better move today with the chart and the price, but just keep that offering in the back of your head. This is something that they could do today or anytime throughout this month until May 30th when this offering ends.
Okay, real good stuff there. List is changing around because this stock is pumping literally as we speak. This is ticker HCWB. This is HCW Biologics. HCW Biologics shares are trading higher after the company announced it presented studies on one of its drugs, HCW 9206. Sorry, I offhand, I don't know what that is or what that drug is for there. Let's see.
Solid tumors.
What was it? Sorry?
Solid tumors.
Solid tumors. Okay, thank you very much. Quick look around the horn here on this one. 1.03% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover on that. Stock has a micro float, at least on my read here, 671,000 shares in the float. On average, this stock trades a paltry 13,000 shares worth of volume. Today, though, 7.3 million. One of the things that I hope that you folks gather from me reading the average volume versus the current session volume, I know some folks here swing things from one day to another. A lot of the trade setups that we talk about here are intended to be short-term day trade only, but I know a lot of you folks end up carrying these things overnight. One of the reasons that I read this data out is because some of these stocks that really don't trade a lot have this one day where the volume is crazy. And sure, the day after, maybe it enters a relative volume scan and some other traders come back to it. But the reality is that volume can dry up significantly, making it much more difficult for you to get out of your position. So again, on some of these that have really low average volume, if you're going to trade them, you might be better off just trading it on the day where the volume is not a problem. Because trust me, someone asked the other day about that Chinese company that I was trying to trade, WETH. What an absolute disaster that was. One of the things was that on days where it really outperformed, the volume was flowing and it was no problem at all. And then on days where nothing happened, it was extremely low volume as it moved to low. So again, just be very careful about this. Note what its average volume is. And if it's really, really low, you might just want to be done with it on the day that it's hot. Don't try to get rid of it on the day that it's not. Anyway, that's just my aside there. 13, you have anything here on HCWB?
Yeah, so their presentation, that solid tumors, I think you already covered that. The low float, you already covered that. 671,000 shares in the float. One of the interesting things that I saw about this was that you had a lot of insider buying last Friday. You have multiple directors, CEOs, CFOs, all buying after there was an announcement of an initial offering. So I didn't have enough time to read through all of that, so I don't know how soon or late that offering is coming. Maybe as early as today, maybe sometime later on this month. I don't exactly know, but it is out there, and insiders are still buying. So beyond that, I'm not sure exactly what to make of this. Just looked at the technicals now. We're starting to get into these pre-market highs of 1327. I will note that the offering that I was reading into, it looks like they were trying to exercise that offering for common stocks at 763 a share. So that's about what I've got here for HCWB. Let me see if I can pull some levels here for you. We're at what, 1250 right now. So
yeah, and while you're pulling those levels here real quick, Jay saying you have to swing overnight, otherwise you would have missed the huge gap up. Jay, this is true, but that's true with like actual companies that like we trust and stuff. Not some of these smaller, junkier companies. I think you can actually trade those a little bit differently. All right, 13, what do you got for those levels?
1280, 15, and 16 even.
Okay.
I would call it those 1280, 1280, 15, and 16 even. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff there. HCWB. All right, let's see what we got next on the list here. How much time do we have? 14 minutes. We should be all right. This LSEA, this looks like a buyout, right? Yeah, definitive agreement to be acquired by New Home at 1124. Congrats if you held this.
Lancy has a new home. All right, next one.
Yep, New Home here. It's bought out 7 to 1124. Congrats if you held it. Next one here is going to be LICN. This is what? Lichen International. This stock had a wild day intraday, then really popped in the after hours. We popped again here in the pre-market. We've come all the way back in. Shares are trading higher on no news. Let's see if that's been updated a little bit. Nope. Nothing new here today. This seems a bit odd, you might say. Maybe a coordinated pump here. Nonetheless, some of the stats on this one, 3.71% of the float shorted. That's on 1 day to cover, and that comes on an average volume of 215,000. Today, it's traded 6.5 million. 13, you have anything on this one that maybe I missed?
I think this is relative volume. Yesterday, it traded 7.3 million shares. Which is much higher than the average, which is 215,000. So I think we're just seeing some relative volume here. I don't see any news like you just mentioned. Let's see here. So this is a China name. So I think because of the trade deal that happened over the weekend, all those different names were rising. This was no difference, especially with the low float. of 552,000 shares. Likely got that moving pretty easily. So I think this is just moving on the tariff deal that was struck over the weekend, causing all the China names to go.
Okay. So this was a China name, you're saying?
It is. Yep.
LCEA. So thinking about it, was asking here, isn't this a Tim Melvin stock? I highly doubt it if it was a China name, but
No. He's asking about LC, not LCIN.
yeah. Oh gosh, I totally screwed that up. Okay. Well, what I was trying to say, I see what the extra caffeine can do to you. What I was trying to say here, thinking about it, I've reached out to Tim and I will ask him if this was. I can't remember if it was. Unfortunately, this is not one of the ones that I bought. I don't have this in my account at all. I will reach out to him and confirm that. Sorry, 13. I totally screwed that one up. Okay. All right. We done with LICN here.
I mean, there's not. I think this is going to probably head lower today. It just looks like it's setting up to go lower. I'm looking for a break beneath 5, and then maybe we can take a look at it later and see what it does. But it just looks like it's trying to make its way beneath $5. Okay.
Good stuff there. By the way, INHD is the next one on the list here. This had a ridiculous day yesterday. This is Inno Holdings. This thing went from 5 to 20 back down to 2. We're just right away looking at that. Be careful with this. Right? Be careful with this one. This feels bad. This was reported yesterday here, right? Monday. INHD stock has given up its prior gain. Inno Holdings shares were trading higher after the company announced a strategic cooperation with New Life Technology Development on developing a B2B marketplace platform. So, okay, that news yesterday sent that thing skyrocketing. And not only did it come back in, it actually went negative. Today, we're popping a little bit here in the pre-market. Do you have anything on this one?
I think you remember this one. You remember this one where you check at the website and you're like, oh, yeah, it's totally a China name because look at the website. There's nothing there. You remember that yesterday?
Yeah, we did. I do remember that. Okay, so
that's
and it's this.
That's it.
Oh, good times. That's fun.
So I think that might tell you all you need to know about how confident I am in this company. Let's take a look at the chart and see what kind of. I mean, this thing already had the move. It hasn't done anything this morning. I don't see it. I don't see it moving this morning. I mean,
well, it closed. See, here's the problem. It had this pull right at the end here that brought it down to like 231, and then it closed there at 236.
Okay.
And today we're basically just back a little bit, so it appears as if it's up huge. The reality, I'm very skeptical of this. I don't think this is a good trade.
No, I'd be careful with this one.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to like dance around it, but I might as well just be as obvious as possible. By the way, folks, in very typical,
we're all over it. And fake news alert from Sanctuary City. Thank you for the stock fake news alert. Appreciate it.
In regular Tim Melvin form, he must have been at his computer when I emailed him because he's already responded. That is one of mine. I recommended it several times over the last couple of years. Hope you folks made some money. That's Tim Melvin, who we're going to have on tomorrow. One of his stocks. Ready. I was going to say, get your. I love it. 13 he took the words literally out of. They were sitting right here, and 13's like, yoink, we'll take those. Be sure to get ready to give Tim his flowers on this one. I'll tell you what, I'm actually a little disappointed in myself here. Some of my favorite trades ever are when I buy something and I wake up one day and it's bought out at a premium. In this case, a 60% premium. Wowzors. Okay.
Some of these larger names before the bell.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Tim, unprovoked, sends me another email that says, some days I'm convinced I do not entirely suck at this. I'll tell you what, for someone that's incredibly knowledgeable about the stock market, his sense of humor is second to nobody's.
Yeah.
And we are lucky.
Print that quote out and frame it.
Actually, you know what? I'm favoriting this email real quick. Okay, let's get to some of those bigger names here. Apple was the first one. Let's do that. AAPL. Here's your chart. We had it. Remember, we had a nice move yesterday. I'm going to start here with the daily 13. We did miss our 155 to 165 entry when we were kind of charting for a potential entry on this one. However, the move yesterday really good. Took us above the trend line that I've drawn here since February of this year, February 24th. We are above that trend line, and we are above the 50-day moving average, that value 209.87. I would really like us to hold above this area here. What do you got on this? What level wise? What do you have on this? I don't think we need to do short interest and stuff on a stock like Apple. So
no, I do like this area between 219 and 220. That was because that 220 level, that was support for the back half of, or maybe not the back half, but a good portion of the later half of 2024. And then we ended up losing it in March this year. So I think that's going to be a level I'm going to want to watch for. And we did end up recapturing it for a short period of time before Liberation Day came. So 220 is the level I'd be watching for. That's just going to be the level ahead of the 200-day SMA. Kind of looks like we have a bit of an inverse head and shoulders, albeit slanted, kind of forming on the chart here. So let's see if we can recapture some of those levels as well. I would just stick with 220 right now and see what happens there. But the fact that we're still above the 50-day SMA is a good sign, and we are starting to move over a bit of a trend as well. I don't know if you want to draw any trend lines, but they've been pretty juicy lately. So,
well, is it different than the one that I have plotted on here?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that's just eyeballed, so it might not be.
No, that's good.
But yeah,
that's good. Now for support, I have 207. I've had that level in there for a while. So 207 is going to be my support, as is the 50-day SMA. Resistance is going to be 220, and then 200-day SMA after that.
Okay, that 207 actually corresponds pretty well with the candle from yesterday, the bottom of that candle from yesterday. Let's see, where do we go to? 206.76. Boy, that 20, you're absolutely right on that. You are absolutely right on that. Okay, that's Apple. Next, I think, was C. I'm not sure on this one if they wanted to cover it, but I think that they did. Here is Citigroup. We actually had a nice move yesterday. We're holding some of those gains here today. Look back at the daily chart here, shows you exactly where we're at. This is without a doubt a key level. This right here, actually, I don't really want to say a triple top, but this was a spot that was tested several times recently right in here. There's actually a gap that doesn't fill up until about 77 here. This spot was also a previous resistance area before we broke out back here in January of this year, and then kind of created this area right up here. Fell back in. We bounced off the 500-day. I'll tell you what, it sure seems like 75 is a key level here. Can we get above that? If so, maybe we do fill that gap to 77 and change. Do you have anything here on Citibank, ticker C? Excuse me, Citigroup, ticker C?
I don't think I've seen too many times where there's been a silver and death cross happening at the same time. Pretty interesting. So you got a bullish and bearish signal kind of occurring at the same time here. Now, granted, this death cross may be very short-lived if the price is going to continue to be up here. But I think what could happen is we may end up filling that gap. The price will end up going up to somewhere between 76 and 77, and then we'll pull back. I expect that we'll pull back. Maybe it's a little bit higher than that, but when I look at the RSI being at 68, I have to think that gap fill, maybe a little bit more than the gap fill, might be about where it's going to top out before we get some cooling off in this stock. I think it has to come in a little bit so that the RSI can love.
Okay.
Not before it pops up. I think there might be one more pop before we start dropping.
Okay, good stuff. By the way, that RSI almost at that overbought level. A couple of things here real quick. Joe Schmo saying your show is the best in the genre. Yeah, we'll take that all day long. I just wish you were on after the opening bell. We are. We're on for what, an hour or so?
Yeah, we're
hour and a half.
We're on until what is it?
11.
Yeah. So we get all the good volume in the morning, and then we wane off just like the volume does towards lunch.
Yep. Stick around, Joe. Absolutely love to hear that. And then you also went on here. Is there an analogous expression to catching a falling knife for stocks on the upswing? Yeah, absolutely. That's called chasing. And we try not to do that here because that ends in a lot of sad trombones and sometimes tears. Okay, next here, we're going to take a look at Zim. I know we talked a little bit about the dividend already. Might as well take a look at the chart here. Zim sitting at 1663, so it's pretty much right between the 50 and the 100-day here. We have pretty much put in like a series of higher lows here. I'm going to draw a trend line just because I can't unsee it, frankly.
I started mine with February and I guess the November and February highs. I would draw it through those, and you'll find that when you do, the price tried to get above that line and was rejected yesterday. So that trend is still intact right now.
Okay, so I actually drew two trend lines on here. We have the more near-term downtrend where we've made higher lows, and then I just added the trend that 13 was talking about. He's exactly right. We have not broken this yet. We'll see if we do that. I also think maybe I see a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders here. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah. I know the initial question here was about the dividend, which we already covered. Here's a look at the chart. Maybe we can go higher here. Ticker ZIM. All right. Yeah.
Real quick on that. If Zim is one that you trade or looking to trade, let me provide a link here to something that's been helpful.
Truly.
That's it. There you go. So you just keep an eye on that and watch these rates because when the rates go up, Zim tends to do better because in the beginning of the year, they'll negotiate new contracts depending on what the rates are. So if the rates are high, their contracts are going to tend to be pricier. They'll end up with more revenue. They'll end up paying a larger dividend. If rates are low, they may not end up paying a dividend at all because they didn't have an excess amount of revenue. So that's kind of the thing I'd be watching for. This is how I was following the trade last year when we were doing Zim. Keep an eye on the World Container Index, and I use Drury for that. So just get your information from there. That'll give you an idea of when the best and worst times to be in Zim is.
Okay, and real quickly here, I do want to talk about Archer. They're up 4% here today. Right. Archer flashing a potential breakout above 961. We actually drew a line here. I think this is what, $9, excuse me, right at $9 as a potential level to break. This goes all the way back to November 29th of last year. Archer has popped above that. So I'm sure we'll check back in on this, Izzy. I appreciate you bringing this to the group here. Archer. Possible breakout here. All right, let me flip over to my main workspace. Let's get this show on the road. We are open here.
HCWB is not waiting. That thing ran up to 1670 into the open. It's still pushing up, but I'm not going to be jumping into this right now. I think this could end up pulling here. Just be careful with this one. Let this one come in. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. One of the things I was trying to do was get to the poll results here. What does the broader market do in the next 6 months? 64% of you said higher, 18% of you said lower, and 17% of you said about the same. We had pretty good participation on that poll as well. So there you go. Looks like the group here thinks there is a bias to the upside over the next 6 months.
Big move in Archer. That's probably going to come up to yesterday's high in the after hours, which should be about 1040. Might even halt here.
Oh my God, what a move on Archer. What a move.
Yeah, it's really moving. Joe Schmo, Archer is probably having trouble with 10 because that was where the SPAC price was. But it's blasting through it now.
Right through 10 right there. Here's a look at your daily. 12? Is that
no, it's good. I think 1040 is where you're going to see some resistance. We're coming up right up to it. This is very extended right now, so it would not be surprising if we did get a little bit of pullback, but I don't think it's coming back underneath 9 right now. Okay.
Also, Smoke Tuna, I did see the bonjour earlier. I did want to shout you out here. You had suggested NEXN yesterday. Is my platform really going to die right now? No. Are you there? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was just making sure it's not my internet. Here is, I don't know what the hell happened there. That may have been internet, not the platform. NEXN, Smoke Tuna, you were talking about this yesterday. You had said that this was I don't want to call it a recommendation because that's not what you said, but you said that this was one that we should definitely watch. And you had said that around like 1170, 1160s. Here we are at 1190s. This thing actually tried to test 12 yesterday. So hat tip to you. This one so far is working here, or at least it looks like it is. All right.
Archer slightly above that high from yesterday. 1043 is the price. It just popped it to 1053. Now it's going again. I would not be chasing this up here. If I'm going to be trading this at all, I need this thing to come back in. I do not want to be buying with as a RSI of 91 on the 5-minute.
Lobo here. Sorry, let me get this calendar out of the way. What is going on? Lobo here is halted to the upside at 215. Sure looks like 226, which is your VWAP, is next here when this opens.
All right, so you got a little pull in HCWB. Now it's trying to push up to that 1670 high again. LICN, that's going down as we thought it would. 508 is the low. I think it's going to go under 5. INHD, this also going down. That went. Now, if you drew a trend line starting from this morning open, which is about 550, and drew it through the high at about 645 this morning, you'll see that we didn't get a breakout over it. We just kind of sideways stepped past it, and then ever since then, that trend line's been support. Because that's where the price has gone down to now. It looks like 3 is where there's going to be support for INHD. Don't know if it's going to turn around there, but this isn't one I'd be wanting to trade right now either.
Okay, Lion here will give you a register ring for your Coinbase sale.
Nice.
I didn't realize that you were in Coinbase here. Coinbase, of course, popping here today on some pretty substantial news. Coinbase shares are trading higher after it was announced that the company will join the S&P 500 effective before the opening of trading on Monday, May 19th. That is next Monday here. So Coinbase, I don't know what's going on with the chart here.
CNSP is breaking the trend line.
Here is CNS. You know what? I didn't have my trend line on this one. That's shame on me. Here's the trend line that it's breaking. You're absolutely right. That's actually above VWAP too. This doesn't look terrible right here.
I'm looking at, okay, so the pre-market, here's the next highs that are coming up that I'm watching for. 290 is the next one, and then 336 after that. And then I have levels here at 360 and then $4 after those levels. So.
Okay. Izzy here selling Archer. It looks like you got almost a full dollar there overnight, Izzy. That's not a bad short-term trade, dude. Perfectly done. Also sold right at a resistance level. I think that's pretty smart, honestly. Good stuff here from the group early. I love it.
All right, so CNSP with a nice pop. That's going to come back in towards its VWAP, maybe even test the trend line, but I don't think this thing is done. If it is, it's going to go under 230.
UNH here getting a mention. UNH is in orb. So that's an opening range breakout. UNH here still hunting for a bottom. To me, I'm curious to hear what you folks think about this one, but for me, I don't see any possible buy trigger here. I think buys on this are literally just catching a falling knife, to go back to one of the examples that we talked about. Down 13% here on the back of the appointment of a new CEO.
Yeah, so if this continues to fall, I think the best support that I'm seeing is going to be at 300. There could be an area slight just before that, at about 320, but I don't know. I think 300 seems like a stronger bulwark, as if it's holding up the gates of Thermopylae.
Okay. Okay, good stuff there. Lunar, by the way, also going here. Lion here saying UNH is about the bottom. Lion, what are you seeing, dude? Like, we have been looking, like, is it just a gut feeling? Like, it's okay if that's the case. We don't see a bottom anywhere on that chart. So let me know where you're actually getting that from, and I'd be happy to take a look at it.
All right, so there's a pull in CNSP. Lobo still halted. That should unhalt soon, though. We also have a halt in HCWB. This thing is halted to the downside. This is exactly what I was talking about being careful with at the open here. Second day now, we've talked about how with these movers in the morning that are running up into the open. They sell it as soon as they open. This is number 2 now. Number 2. And here is LCIN. That just printed underneath 5. So that might start getting some buyers step in, but still don't like it. I think maybe 450 would be a better buy spot if I was even considering LICN. Getting some support here in INHD off that trend line, low of 295. And Rocket Lab is having a good morning.
RKLB, we saw Lunar blasting off there too.
Oh, so yes. Sorry about that.
It's all right. What are you sorry about?
Because folks have been mentioning Lunar and ASTS. So Lunar had earnings today.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. My turn. Blah, blah, blah. Take that. Lobo opened and rehalted here at 230. This went higher. Okay, go.
All right. I'm glad you got your little shot in there today.
Had to do something.
So they guided, in the range of the estimates, but on the higher side, 300 million is definitely better than the 272 million that the analysts were expecting. So, I think the big thing with this is that their next launch, they have to actually stick the landing this time. But I don't think I'd be buying into this strength, because when I look at the daily chart, this is a little bit extended here. 72 RSI. We just popped above the 200-day SMA. The thing that I think would be best is we, at the very least, get a hold above $10, but ideally hold above the 200-day SMA. We just got a silver cross. That's a good sign. Let this thing cool off a little bit, hold above $10, and then I think we can start talking about how soon this will start seeing 15.
Okay. Also wanted to announce that Mullen is popping.
I am not surprised.
That we're basically just doing for the memes at this point. Okay. I don't really see anything else great off of the list here yet.
CNSP is halted to the downside with an incredible knife. I wonder what that's from. I have a suspicion. And there it is. There's the public offering.
It really?
Yep.
Sure is. What a great. You got to come here for a breakdown of the movers early. Really, really well done here. That offering coming 3.95 million shares at 126.5. I guess you could round that up to 127 and include Series F warrants. What a call on that one. Chewy loves it. Great job.
So when this unhalts, you're going to see an even bigger knife, and they'll probably go into another halt, because the pricing of these shares is at 126.5, and that's going to be at about right where we were right before the impulse move that we got this morning. So going right back to start with CNSP. Thanks for playing. Have a good day.
Okay, there it is. Tempest getting a mention here. TEM, what a move. Is this happening on news, folks? What a move here out of the open.
INHD with a nice bounce off that trend line, trying to make its way back up to VWAP. There's a significant amount of consolidation it has to get through between where the price is at now and 375. But once it does that, it might have a better time trading, even getting up into the 4 handle. We'll see if that happens. Has to get above VWAP first.
Real quick here, Tempest AI, Trader launches the first leverage ETF on Tempest AI. That is a press release as of this morning. I don't know if that's what's driving it. Tempest here up 11%. Nice move here right out of the open on that. Good morning, Amanda. Lion saying, Ryan, I guess you missed what I said about UNH. I bought a few shares and I sold the June 320 put to get 400 or 4,400 in premium. Okay, so you're doing multiple trades in there. That makes more sense. Yankee Clipper saying, and UNH was at 600 a month ago, so looking more like a bottom here, but it can go lower. That's exactly it. Like Yankee, I don't doubt that. And I mean, I understand exactly where it came from and all of that. I just don't see it putting in a bottom. And to me, if we talk about trying to stick to best practices here, I don't think trying to catch falling knives is something that we should do very often, at least not as a group. You are bringing up good points. We'll see. We'll see where UNH goes. To me, it's not a buy yet.
Yeah, I still like 300. I think that's it. Hot Gates trade 300.
There you go. having another nice day here.
I got to take a look at ASTS because folks are mentioning it.
Okay, I can put that up on screen here with you. I was still waiting on Lobo to open here, although it does look like somebody is trying to sell at 223 right when it opens. We'll see how that goes. Here's ASTS.
So I do like that we've kind of double bottomed here. And, I say bottom as if this is has been selling off substantially, but it's still well above the area where it was breaking out, last year. So at $18 is where I see the support. And so CNSP just opened, and that's lower. Probably I don't know what it's gonna do. Anyway, this
Logo is open also.
Yeah, okay.
That looks like that actually went higher temporarily. This is going to re-halt 224. That's right where that offer was. 13, I'm sorry for interrupting.
It looks like $30 is a pretty good resistance area in ASTS. That seems to be about the area where the price has trouble closing over. You do have a series of wicks, like a whole bunch of wicks going back from since August last year that have printed over 30, but not too many closes. So I think $30 is the big level to get over here with ASTS.
Okay, Smoke Tuna saying that might go to 35 if ASTS breaks that $30 level.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay, good stuff there. Amanda saying, I agree with 300. This is in reference to UNH, but with that premium, I think he's referring to Lions put there, right? Oh, God, I'm having such a tough time keeping this all straight here. That's the 320 put. That actually lowers his cost basis and puts his break even around 275. So I like the option strategies here that you folks are going with.
CNSP
Good morning, Wisdom.
CNSP is trying to trade back up. I'm still going to be careful with this one until I wouldn't trade this until it gets back above VWAP, maybe even closer to $3. I feel like that move down wasn't enough, but we'll see. If it provides a trade, we'll trade it. But other than that, staying away. HCWB, by the way, that's gapping down still.
Okay, Daddy Backstrap here. Morning, Ryan. What do you think about some Google bull put spreads? So I'm actually still in a Google long here. I actually have this week's 160 calls. Now, unfortunately, Google had a great day yesterday. Was looking good in the pre-market here today, but good Lord, that's no good. Bad action here. So honestly, at this point, you're asking me about a new trade. What I would rather do is I'd wait out 156. Let's see what happens there. Maybe Google ends up going lower here as it retests its 500. But also, we have this current trend line here, and that would put us at about 154. So one of the things, Daddy Backstrap, that I'd be looking at here, let's make sure this thing holds. You want to buy it because, hey, it's down today and you think maybe it bounces tomorrow. Okay, I get it. I'm still in. I got a little piece left. I was hoping to be able to sell this here today. Maybe I will anyway, depending on what it is. I'm still up quite a bit on. Yeah, I'm still up 55% on that last chunk. So hope to get rid of that today. Don't think I see a new long yet here on Google. Let's let it come in about another point and a half, I would say.
For Google, I like 155. That's a level I've had marked off there for a while. It's just above the 500-day SMA, right in line with where that trend line is. I think 555 is going to be the level to watch for.
Yeah, 155. Okay, so that would be a very small peak below the 500, but still above the trend line. 13, that makes a ton of sense to me, honestly. James saying, I love bull put spreads to enter positions. Okay. Lion says, trust me, Ryan, the group makes some great calls better than Kramer. I trust you on that 100%. In fact, didn't I see a stat from producer? Producer, maybe you can procure this for us. Didn't we see a stat that the Black Monday 1987 call that Kramer made around the tariff fiasco, didn't that mark the dead low? Help me out with that. I don't want to disparage him without knowing for sure, but help me out with that. Look, the producer I'll tell you what, he's got some fast fingers.
He probably had that bookmark. He's like, Ryan's going to ask about this.
Here we go. You cannot make I'm just going to read the tweet because that's it. That's the tweet. You cannot make this up. Jim Cramer's 1987 Black Monday prediction was the exact market bottom. And in fact, the NASDAQ is up 24% since then. He is the single greatest indicator known to man. Here it is.
Okay.
I am not in the business of disparaging people. I view myself as a regular guy. I don't even think I'm particularly great at this. I'm trying to make my way like a lot of other people do. But when it comes to Cramer and some of his calls and just how boisterous he is about some of these things, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me that so often, so many of these calls actually mark reversal points. It's just... I'm not even trying to disparage the guy. I mean, I know he's an Eagles fan. I don't even rip him for that. It's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy how often this happens. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, then he has real bangers like Didi.
I don't remember what that did, man. I'm sorry.
That was so Didi was the Chinese like taxi company or it was some and he was telling everybody this is going to be great. Load up on it. And I forget exactly what the
didn't it go bankrupt?
I don't remember if it was bankrupt
or
steal
the money.
If it was the Chinese government got in and said it needs to be delisted, or I forget what the exact. Yeah, look at that. That's awesome. I forget what the exact words were, but it ended up going to zero and getting off the listing. So hurt everybody that he recommended to buy it. So. I don't listen to him.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those people, but I just wouldn't listen to him if he's going to tell people to load up into a failing company.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing is like, I'm a big proponent of listening to people that have more experience than you. Like, I'm a believer that you can learn something from every conversation with people, especially if they have more experience in what you're trying to learn. This is very difficult. And I'm not even trying to make fun of anybody. I make bad calls all the time. So I'm not trying to like bring that heat on. It's just, it's so often and so prolific when it comes to him. It is what it is. Lion says some of his calls are insanely wrong. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Izzy, more colorful language there from Cramer. I probably won't repeat that.
All right. So these stocks, these things that we're trading today.
Sweet one. Welcome back,
sideways.
man. It's good to see you again. Missed you. Sorry, 13. I totally interrupted you there.
Crow's mentioning XLO.
XLO is also hitting the relative volume scanner. This is now popping above $1. Actually, looks like this is trying to launch as we speak. Crow, really good timing there. 105, 110 seems to be the resistance area. It also found some resistance in the after hours yesterday at that 110 level.
Looks like on a daily chart, we could see this go to 128, 129 before it runs into some resistance.
Real quickly here, James saying we can learn from their mistakes and their victories. I do. I think this is the right approach, James. I'm always trying to learn things from others, whether it's good, bad, or the otherwise. Jane says, Ryan, you can't compete with me. That's my title. Okay, you win then, Jane. Ed saying his books were good. Yes, and this, you're not the only person, Ed, that says that. That's the other thing. Anyway, Izzy is screaming at me. Izzy, you got to check your caps lock key, dude. I don't think I've seen a lowercase letter from you in like 3 days. So make sure your caps lock key is not broken. Try and hold caps lock for the tickers here so it's easier for everyone to see. However, your mention here of HIMS is spot on. Another huge move here in HIMS. Here's what the daily chart looks like on this. We actually talked about this on the happy hour. We thought that as competition grows here, this is likely not going to be it's more of a short, but good Lord, that has not been the case here with HIMS. This thing continuing to trade to the upside. I'm almost thinking that this is just with how much we've moved. I'm almost thinking this is a potential short soon. Let me go to a bigger chart here and see if we can figure that spot out. Yeah. So sorry, 13. So we were looking at this triangle here. I think that if we kind of come back in, I think maybe we do move lower here. We're breaking the trend though, so until that changes, this might be one of the things to take a look at here on HIMS. I'll tell you what, I'm not in this one. I would be looking for a short here, and that looks like that's the wrong call here today.
Just looking at what IITZ Jax was saying, he's long at 528.45 on ISRG, iSurge, Intuitive Surgical. He's adjusted stop loss order from 517 to 550. Honestly, I'm looking at this chart, and it seems to me like 550 is going to be about the level where this could pull back to. This is a little extended, over 70 RSI on the daily chart. Had a really good run. I think we have a bit of an inverse head and shoulders here. So the next thing I'd be watching for is for the price to kind of cool off and come back in a little bit. But I think your support area is going to be at about 550. So don't want to see you get stopped out, because I still think this has potential to go higher. Once that 550 support starts to kick in, maybe it kicks in a little bit lower than 550, but I think this is going to end up going higher after the RSI cools off a bit. So I do expect some short-term downside followed by some longer-term upside.
I think that 550 level that you two are talking about makes a lot of sense here. I've got it highlighted here on the screen. And also, Jex, love what you're doing here. We've talked a lot about this here on this show. In different instances, you have a long at 528, you're in profit. Now you've moved your stop up to make sure that you can't possibly lose on this. Giddy up, brother. That's exactly the type of trading action that we want to see. By the way, Lobo is open now, going from being very tall to not as tall anymore. Lobo halted to the downside again here, this time 185. So yikes, and more yikes. This thing curled off of what level is this? This thing curled off of 150, recaptured the VWAP, immediately pulled. Now we're in a series of downside halts here. ICCT, big volume. This was a good call. Jonathan, sorry I'm a little late to it. Boy, oh boy. Jonathan, your call here was timely, brother. That is awesome. Even though we were busy with something else, you were alerting it here in the chat. Nice little volume ramp here, ICCT. We know what this is capable of. We've seen this run a bunch of times. Look at that. Traded right into a resistance area up here at 338, 340.
Yeah, and this has gone on multi-day runs before,
yes, sir.
So we could see this get some action all throughout the week. I think I don't think it's a too crazy level, but there's a chance we might end up seeing 650, maybe as early as today. But if this continues with this momentum later on this week, for sure.
Ja, good to see you again here, Ja. We know we're talking about HIMS, but Ja's saying stuff your S. I trade HIMS with the Z because that's the 2X levered HIMS ETF here. Got a 24.4% gain on an overnight hold here at HIMS. So what are you doing with this, Ja? Are you trimming into this move? What's the time horizon here? Are you all out just booking gains? What's the deal here? Also, Joe Schmo regarding UNH, which we've talked about kind of a lot here, saying a potential bottom or possibly bottomed here. My God, right? What is going on with my computer here? UNH, potential bottom here, 325. Let me just, where's the spot? Is this a previous price level? Like where? Here, right in here, 320. Man, you know what? Looking at the chart here now, 321, 325. This does look like a support area. Is it already short sale restriction, or is that only the next day? Honestly, I don't even know. Does anyone know the answer to Joe's question here regarding SSR for UNH?
I don't know, but
I don't either. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, it could be that I think I was saying 320. I still like 320 and 300. I think 300 is going to be the spot. We still have to get there. It might even be 325, like they're saying, but I'm just going to say 320, 300 to 320 still. Okay.
Peen, is it time to play Hertz to the upside? Peen, I've seen you mention Hertz a few times here. Look, I'm sorry I didn't get to it earlier. It's nothing personal. We just had some other stuff that we were rolling on. Hertz Global Holding shares are trading lower after the company reported worse than expected Q1 financial results. Remember, not long ago, Hertz ripped on news it was going bankrupt. I of course, am joking a little bit there. We also had an Ackman stake in here trying to save it from bankruptcy. Looks like we had earnings here minus 15.9%. What was that, 13?
Again? Hertz is trying to avoid bankruptcy. Didn't they go through bankruptcy?
No, I'm saying that was the initial catalyst that was trying to get it to go. Then we had Ackman take a stake. The catalyst today, 13, is earnings. Okay. So sorry if that was confusing there.
Well, because I remember they had gone through bankruptcy just around the pandemic. I remember that. They ended up buying a whole bunch of Teslas, and now they're having a hard time getting rid of them.
I think everyone. By the way, if you're looking for a new car or just another car here, there's actually something to be said for looking at a used Tesla, because you can probably get it at a insanely good price. Anyway,
yeah, right now that comes with harassment.
Yeah, that's true, but that's more about the company you keep. With all due respect, HIMZ continuing to rip to the highs. HCWB, yep. This is curling back up off that VWAP pull.
Yep. Halted to the upside again.
Oh, this is halted. Okay. I beg your pardon.
1670 is the high. CNSP, that still is going lower. I think it won't start turning around until it hits that 126 a share. And Lobo is halted to the downside.
There we go. So this was funny earlier too, because the way the comments shook out here in the chat was wild. It was, let me see if I can find it and I'll read it here to you. I see Izzy's comment saying I'll never not use caps. Izzy, you are pushing the buttons. Where was that? Now I'm trying to find it here. There were two back-to-back comments that were like perfect. I'm trying to find it. Go ahead, 13. Sorry.
No, I'm just trying to do some looking into right now. We just got a headline a little bit ago. Actually, it's more than a little bit ago. It's about half an hour ago about Trump and Saudi, the Crown Saudi Prince or whatever it is. They signed a mineral and chips deal. I heard about the chips. I hadn't heard about the minerals.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard about that earlier here too. Mike, I missed this earlier. I'm sorry, man. This is definitely worth mentioning. 270% on a Boeing call here. Boeing actually was trading above 200 recently. And you know what? Good on you, Mike, because one of the things that I was saying recently about Boeing is that a swing to 200 actually looks pretty good. Ended up not taking it because I was goofing around with Google and other stuff. Probably should have, as we got that print here. Good on you. Nice profit here this morning. This is what I saw earlier. Peen's comment here. I got out of my Hertz puts for some sweet money. So it actually looks like you're trying to actively trade this back and forth. Big props for that. The very next comment, Chris Forsman, long Hertz at 5.6. So, and now, Chris, it looks like you were selling some of that. So really good active stuff here. Ticker HTZ on that back and forth from both of you.
Boeing, this is a great move. It's been on a great run ever since we've got the low from Liberation Day. This looks like a good spot to, at least in my opinion, to take profits. You are up almost 58% since April 7th if you bought down on that day. You also have the RSI, the daily RSI at 77. So we are pretty extended here. This, I don't know what everybody's plan is if you're for Boeing, if you're in it, if you're going to hold this for the long term, or if you're going to just do a swing trade or a day trade. But it's a short term trade. This looks like about where the off ramp is because it's getting pretty extended, and I expect some downside to start happening as early as today, but definitely this week.
Okay, now one thing here regarding a lot of these here, we had actually talked to Derrick Oldensmith from T3 earlier. He was saying that the rally here has been impressive, although maybe it was a little bit overdone, and I think that there was a lot of good stuff in there. Jay here adding a little bit to this. The Bears are effed. Most weren't expecting a follow through after yesterday's move. Now, Jay, I'm glad that you brought this up because one of the things that we talked about in happy hour yesterday was going to be the action here today. We actually had a direct question. What do you think the Qs are going to do? And I said, one of the things that I've been doing recently is I've been trying to play the back and forth market movements by using low-priced calls or even buying SQQQ or TQQQ intraday, as we've discussed a number of times here. I had said yesterday I did not feel like it was just going to kind of revert back to the mean. Thought that there might be a little bit more carry through, and as a result, I opted not to put any of those positions on. I agree with you. There were other folks in that asking about this. I think that there were a lot of people that were thinking this was just going to go back and forth a little bit here. And you're right. I do think the Bears might be caught offside a little bit. That I say all that to say that maybe we are approaching the end of this up move where the Bears are going to get a bit of a reprieve on a regression back to the mean.
I don't know how to pronounce the name. EALT, is it EALT? I'm sorry. But what I'm looking at here is he's saying that China accepted the Boeing planes yesterday. Now, I think what you're saying is they started taking or allowing more orders, or are those some deliveries they're accepting? Because my understanding is if they canceled those deliveries and they started going to other countries, they're in the back of the line now. I don't know if they ended up getting more planes as a result of this deal. So if you have more context to that'd be great. Now, when it comes to, I was getting asked about Roblox on a monthly chart. I think it was Crow was asking about that. When I look at a monthly chart for this one, it's not too extended. It's getting there, and it looks like it's really trying to. Here's the level I'm watching for: $75 in Roblox.
That's double top, dude. This is.
Well, it could be, or it could just end up being. It depends on what we end up getting for the rest of the month. Because if we close above 75 this month, I think we'll end up going higher next month. If we can't close above 75 this month, then we're probably going to be facing that double top, and we'll look for it to come back down towards the 50-day SMA, maybe even lower. But I think 75 is the number to watch for. That's pretty much, yeah. If we can, because we haven't had a close above it since December of 2021, and that was the support area after its IPO. It popped up above there and kind of held up above 75. No closes really beneath it, and then we broke out in November of 2021, and then the following month we began our big journey down to under 20. So since then, no closes above 75. I think 75 is the level to watch for.
Okay.
And if we do close above that this month, when this month ends, likely we'll see higher prices next month.
Okay. Lion here doing a victory lap for his TTD trade. That was well earned, Lion. The one other thing I want to mention here, first of all, here are some key levels. 62 and 77. We're actually above both of those. Also, keep in mind here, we definitely want this to cool off a little bit. Like, let it consolidate here around this 80 handle would be ideal, but we do have a potential humongous gap, 85.5, and this doesn't fill till 118. So we get into that gap. Maybe that gap fills here a little bit. Would love to see some consolidation here on TTD to set up for that next upside move. We'll see if we get that. Good morning, Bernardo Crespo. Good morning. Our resident Soundhound trader here. Bernardo made an absolute killing on Soundhound. I think he was telling me he was buying that at like 4 or so when we first started talking. Bernardo, really good stuff. Hopefully that went well for you. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Mama Bear here mentioning GRYP. This was one of the huge movers from yesterday. Yeah. Looks like we might be curling and moving through VWAP here. 160, 165 might be your level to break. What do you think, Mama Bear? What's the key level here?
Real quick, one last thing about Roblox. I still don't like how the company operates. They lose hundreds of millions each quarter. So I have no interest in the stock, but I was just looking at levels for answering the question. Moving on to Trade Desk. This one looks like, I think it was $90. Hold on a second. I just had the level. $90 looks to be about the level I'd be watching for resistance. I'm on a monthly chart, and you have the 20-month SMA that's just beneath that. But when I look at this monthly chart, $90 really does stand out to me as a potential resistance level when we once we get up there. So I'd keep an eye on that handle, $90.
Okay. And this is actually pretty clear here on that monthly chart. Good stuff on this Roblox breakdown, 13. Yep. Good stuff on that. Peen asking here, how about NEXN? Y'all were talking about that yesterday. So I'm going to let Smoked Tuna give the thesis here. I did pick up a very little amount of this, more so I could just kind of track it. I think you guys talked about this one yesterday, seeing anything on that chart. I'm going to let Tuna and or Crow give the thesis here because it came from them. So I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert. Looking at the daily chart here, though, gosh, doesn't this look pretty good? Nice little curl and move higher here. Remember, this got recommended at, but what, 1160s yesterday? We're above 12 here today. Earnings tomorrow in the morning before the market opens. Let me know what you think here. MOGO getting a bunch of mentions here. This is ripping on expanding volume. Kudos to the group here yet again. Nice move above that pre-market high here at 108. This thing printing 172. I wouldn't chase this. We've actually seen MOGO move before. Would not chase this move. Nice if you have it. I'd sell into this this pump here.
Being asked, the VIX is looking for a bounce of the trend on the daily. What do I think? Let me look at that. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I don't have a VIX chart to follow along with you on that. You're going to have to verbalize that. Google, by the way, we talked about that a little bit earlier, saying how nasty that looked on that move down here. Coming right back up. Remember, I've got 160 calls that expire this week. Would love for this to move into the money and give me a little appreciation there. Bernardo, as if the big win on Soundhound wasn't enough, Bernardo added Palantir at 30, 40, and 70. Let me ask you, Bernardo, where did you sell that Palantir? Because that is a monster win there. Okay, Smoke Tuna, thank you. NEXN found on a technical setup for a move higher. Well, whatever you used for that, so far, so good. NEXN is working for you. Lynn Adams, hello. Mentioning NVIDIA here. NVIDIA making a nice move here today. Market continuing to push higher here, 586 now. Here's your so NVIDIA looks exactly like the SPY here today. This is exactly what it looks like. NVIDIA, nice little move. We actually have a great long-term NVIDIA chart that I should have put that on. I'm impressed. You guys got a lot of stuff that you're looking for here today, and I like it. Here is NVIDIA. It's a nice little move out of that parallel channel. Now we've moved above the 200-day. Definitely want to get a couple of closes above 125 here. That puts 141 as your next target in there without a doubt.
Yeah, so Jonathan, when it comes to the VIX, I think 17 is going to be the level to watch for. If we lose that, then I would be watching for it to fall under 15 because we've only had a couple of prints, a couple of closes beneath 15 since Trump became president. Since then, we've been mostly in his current presidency. We've been seeing the VIX elevated above 17. So and that happened since February 21st. So since February 21st, we have been printing above 17 daily. And now we're coming down to that as support. So if we lose 17, I'd be looking for 15 to hold.
Also, the last time that we really made a move up was off the 13 handle. We moved up off of that 13 handle. We found a little bit of resistance at 13, and then we made that pullback to 15 that you just outlined before really ramping. That was the Liberation Day stuff. I'd watch that 13 to 15 seems to be the bounce level on the VIX. That's my thought there. We'll see if that holds up here. Market continuing to push higher here. Another call here on MOGO. This we'll see too. Boy, we are not far away from that.
I need to take a look at SQQQ. How far away are we?
Oh, thank you for the reminder. Boy, I need to put that on a Post-it note here.
Not really extended that far away. 30
only
cents.
40 cents. Yeah, it needs a little bit more time. Stick it back in the oven, 13.
Yeah, I just did the poke test. It's still a little moist. You never baked before?
I have. It's just like some of these one-liners are just so effortless. Just right, and I don't even think I'm setting you up, and then just all of a sudden you have the perfect way. It's great. I love it. Sorry if I'm sending the wrong impression. I absolutely love it. More, please.
Wow.
MOAR.
Look at Archer. This is at 11 now. Really good day today. Congratulations, everybody that bought yesterday. Looks like it may even end up going to 13.
ICCT might be bull flagging up here, holding above its VWAP.
Now, here's another thing to keep in mind. Archer did file for an offering. Let me see if I can get you some more information on that. Now remember, this company doesn't make money yet. Got a lot of money, but they still haven't made money yet because they're still
BRB 1 sec 13. Keep
trying
going.
to. No problem. They're just trying to build the facility in Georgia and get production all ramped up. But once we start getting production, we'll see a much better revenue. Let me see here where this. Okay, so they're looking to raise over 19 million. Just give me a second. Well, there is a filing in there. I'm not going to read through all this, but keep in mind that they're going to dilute their shares a little bit more. Not that it isn't already heavy. 477 million shares in the float. Moving nicely though. Any comment for GRYP? Well, it did better yesterday. Now, this is the one. Let me just look at my notes. I think this is the one that has the Trump angle tied to it. Yes, because it's merging with American Bitcoin, of which Eric Trump is a manager on. So this may continue to get appeal because it has that, the Trump name tied to it. Getting out of a BA short while I'm still green. Good job, CA Forsman. SMCI testing the 200 SMA on the daily could break out. I'll take a look at that. This thing having a much better day. It's moving with all the semis. Sure, it had a good day yesterday. It looks like it did. Let's take a look at a larger chart, a daily chart, and see what we got. So it's, what were you saying it was doing? It was testing the 200 SMA on the daily. That's not what I'm seeing. The 200-day SMA is at just under 40 at 39.98. We're at 36.27. We're not anywhere near that daily chart.
Which one are we talking about?
We're looking at SMCI. It's moving over the 50-day SMA today, so there is that. And we're breaking out of a bit of a consolidation area, so there's also that. But I'm not seeing. We're nowhere near this 200-day SMA. Not yet. Looks like UNH is holding above 325 and moving up a bit. Last ad was Buffalo the Bicycle. What ad on? Was that? What's that ad for? Let me scroll back and see what you're talking about here. Marvell. Okay. So he was adding at 55 for MRVL.
I can bring that up here if you need me to.
He's doing really well. Looks like he was either. I mean, were you buying this month, or were you buying last month? I see that they had that drop down to where your 55 area is on the 7th, but a lot of that lower price is in April. TQQQ high a day. I don't think we're quite extended enough for SQQQ yet.
No, I don't think so either. By the way, UNH, I know this has been the subject of a lot of talk here today. UNH so far, I know it's early. Lion's already dancing, but it is early here so far. That 320 to 325 spot does look to be the pretty good bottom. We really need this to hold here. It looks like it turned around 323 on that. Yeah,
it's still got to recapture some levels in order for that to look less bearish. That could be a bear flag. We'll see if it can continue going up.
Yeah, like I said, we definitely need some more time there. It looks like the group is on ICCT. I'm going to bring this up on my other window so I can monitor the level 2 for you. This does look like it's trying to punch the top. 387, your high print. I don't see a whole lot of volume up here. This was a great bounce off the VWAP when this came back in at 328.
Yeah, 450 is looking possible.
Amanda, this is our programming folk here are awesome. I wrote an app to text me when SQQQ and TQQQ are ready to move into. Could you do me a favor and add me to the distribution list of said app? Or could you just give me the app? I would appreciate that, Amanda.
Couldn't we just use Pro to alert us when it's $1 away from VWAP?
What do you think I was going to do? I was going to back engineer her app and fold it into Pro without her permission. Thanks for spoiling that.
Okay.
I mean, so just to kind of answer your question here, the only price alerts that we have right now, it has to move above or below a specific price. There's no way that we can yet tell it to say, hey, when it's becomes, when the delta is X from the VWAP, alert me. That is something we'd like to do in the future. But in the meantime, we just use Amanda's app.
You take a look at.
I love it. Amanda pouring some salt on it. I'm actually using the Pro API. Okay, let's go. Oh, I love it. I love it. Also, I'm a little nervous about saying this. I said it yesterday to the happy hour group. I'm going to say it again here today. Portillo's, you guys know, if you followed me for a while, Portillo's is a stock that I've owned for too long. It's not a winner. This is actually one of the most frustrating holds that I've had in some time. We did identify a pretty decent channel that this seems to be trading. We actually just had an earnings print out of the way that seems to be pretty good. Stock really does seem to move off its volume point of control at about 1050 down here. And of course, the new Pope is from Chicago and loves Italian beef sandwiches. So much so that the same day that was announced, Portillo's has a new item on the menu called the Leo. And that is, of course, an Italian beef sandwich. People are funny about the Pope stuff. I'm almost wondering if this is going to help some of the numbers. We'll see here. Here's the chart for Portillo's. It is worth noting that we did just have a pretty significant cross above the 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages. So if you hear me just cheering randomly about something, you'll know what that is, folks. I'm trying to unload that position at 20, by the way, just to be very clear from the outset here.
Lunar, I'm looking at this chart right now, and it looks like it's really starting to slow down, maybe even starting to put in a bit of a topping pattern. If this cannot get above 1265 and a hold, this is another level that I have. If it can't do that here and now, then I think this is going to start coming back in as we approach that 1030 time where volume really starts to lead the market. I think I'd be very careful with Lunar at this stage. There was also another. So with regard to Portillo's, I was looking at some restaurant stocks yesterday that were looking like they were getting ready to turn around, and a couple that were interesting were Cheesecake Factory, and Dave & Buster's. So Cheesecake Factory, they had good earnings. They're looking to open more restaurants. I mean, getting price target raises up into this area we're trading into now. Looking on a daily chart, it looks like this is potentially an inverse head and shoulders here. If anything, it's going to, could be a scallop, but it looks like it's got the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder, which means that if we are going to get a resolution of this, a breakout of 55 would be ideal. So there's one there. That's Cheesecake Factory. The more interesting one is going to be Dave & Buster's. That's ticker PLAY, Play. This also has an inverse head and shoulders, but it's a lot more prominent. And it's in a much better spot at the very, very bottom of all the price action since the pandemic. We're hitting pandemic prices down here, but this is starting to reverse. Just had a silver cross, inverse head and shoulders, coming up to a resistance area around 23. I'd expect that it hits 23 and maybe backs off a little bit, but once we start breaking through 23, I believe this is going to start to go on a run up to the 200-day SMA around 28. That's what I think we could end up getting here out of Dave & Buster's.
Okay. I actually really like the chart setup more on Play than I do on Cake, FYI. CA Forsman hearing saying Cake has good food, Play has problems. Would love to know some of the specifics there. There's this one tortilla tamale appetizer something. I'll look up the menu at Cheesecake Factory that literally makes my knees go weak. Like I have to sit down to eat it. Otherwise, I run the risk of falling over. It is that effing good. Been a long time since I've had that too.
Yeah. So one of the things about Dave & Buster's is that they just had a pretty bad time with the last leadership that was in there. They're under new leadership now. They're looking to turn things around. So I think that's what might be, giving it some fuel to turn around and go back up. Is that it's under new management. There's going to be some opportunities ahead. You can go through their earnings they had on April 7th and get an idea of what they're looking at. But I think one of the big takeaways is that their expenditures are going to be lower than what they were, what was expected of them. So you'd have to double check that. I didn't read through the entire thing, but it does have a pretty high short interest as well. 45% is 6.83 days to cover. This could potentially squeeze bigly.
I've never been impressed with their food at Dave and Buster's, and their video game floor has never impressed me. Yeah, me either. I went there on some dates in high school. That was about all that I had there. Jay is asking, Ryan, how far are you from Urbana, Champaign, where U of I is? What, 4 or 5 hours or something like that? Not even close. Not even close.
ICCT trying to break out here.
Okay, sorry, you guys. There are so many tickers in the chat. I'm sorry if we are not covering your ticker. We are not ignoring you. There is a lot going, and this ICCT move. Watch this pop above that 387 day high there to go to 4. You might actually get a bit of a knife there at 4. We'll see.
There goes pushing into a new high, and oh wow, what a good call! Look at that selling that happened right after we made new highs.
Didn't even hit 4 there. 393, your new high print there, immediately knifed off that.
The folks were mentioning HCWB knifed. That's that looks like that's going to be coming down under VWAP.
It looks like you got a double top here, intraday and with the pre-market. Looks like that's kind of stopping it there. I'm just going to run down this list here. Mogo, this actually just reclaimed its VWAP. Sorry, 13. What were you looking at?
Lobo, that's trying to turn around, but this is. I'd still be careful with this. I don't think that this really gets back up above VWAP. I might be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, Kathy, taking a look at MVST. That's Microvast, right? This is one that we trade quite a bit here, or have traded in the past. Let's see what's going on with What on earth is going on here? Shares are trading higher if the company reported better than expected Q1 sales results. This stock was $240 on the close yesterday, up 37% on the back of that earning. On volume is right. Kathy, what's the next level on this one? Boy, that 287 that was yesterday, that marked the high.
Oh, this is a scallop breakout.
Yeah, 440, 480. What was that?
It's a scallop breakout. I like 350 as the next resistance area. I'm looking at 22 prices, 2022.
Okay, that's not even far away from where we're at. That might be in play here.
Yep, and then let's see. So after 350, I'd say about 415, 480. Yeah. And then 520. Those three are the next upside levels I'd be looking at.
Okay, MVST. This is a good mention here, Kat. I'm sorry this wasn't on my radar on that. It was probably on the scanner too, and I just glossed over it. Good mention here for the group. Real quick here, Lion saying, Ryan, MOS has been moving up under the radar. Has some of those materials plays worked? Here's MOS. Actually, you know what? Lion, so this one I agree with you on. Does look like we're kind of breaking over this trend, are we not? Right here. And I guess one of the other things you could probably do is, oh, come on. Probably draw like another trend line. Oh, no, it looks like we already broke that one. Already broke that one pretty good. Actually, we back tested that trend line as well. Does look like this is trying to keep moving higher here. Ticker MOS. No position on this after the FMC brutalization that I took last year. I'm going to stay away from some of these.
Looks like we're coming into a consolidation area in MOS. That's going to be from, it looks like, I guess we're already in it. I'd say from 32 to 38. We got a pretty good amount of consolidation that goes back, as 2023, and then you had highs from 22, and then before that, from the pandemic, you also have consolidation in that same range. So that's what I'd be looking at is what happens in this area that we're in between 32 and 38.
I've got really bullish news. My friends just set up a round of golf for this weekend, and I didn't have to do anything. They literally did all the work for me, so I've got that going for me. That's good.
Nice.
Ryan, good news on Google. I've been watching it out of the corner of my eye here. What on earth happened, Joe? What happened earlier here? an immediate pull out of the open and a power bounce off that. We are now higher here. These calls in the money. We definitely going to be selling these out here today. Definitely.
I guess it just hit a buy spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to assign a particular reason for the movement here. I don't know what it is, but I'll take it. I will take it for sure. ICCT, we did get our 4 bust. How about that? Looks like what we have the high print here, 429. Let me put that back on the level 2 here real quick. 430, your high print there on ICCT. And I'll be honest, it does not look done yet. I have no position in this, so it's easy for me to just kind of look at what's going on and just say things. It does look like it's trying to bust here. I would be wary of a night. This stock's up, what, almost 200%?
Yeah, looks like it.
Mama Bear took profit. Mama Bear is a happy bear here today. We'll take that.
Probably one of the only happy bears.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That was good.
Yeah, thinking about it, I'm not looking at this for like a long-term hold or anything. I'm just looking at the chart and saying, hey, this looks like it's going to turn around. When you have the high short interest, I think that you're going to get a resolution of that head and shoulders. But after that, done.
Coin and SMCI, 2 stocks that we talked about earlier here. Those are continuing to rip to the highs. TTD kind of stopped there at 80. This is exactly what we wanted to see on TTD. Let's consolidate right up here before pushing into that gap and possibly filling that. That would mark a trade setup and trade trigger for our group here.
Lunar starting to look weaker. I think this is going to, it looks like it's potentially head and shoulders. Maybe on the 1 minute, it probably looks
ICCT knifed. Sorry, 13.
No worries. And then, so Lunar, I think this is one to watch for a loss of 12. We could be getting it pretty soon here. And if we get that, I think we're going to go down to about somewhere between 1120 and 1140. So that's Lunar.
Lunar looks like it's topping out there. As mentioned, that ICCT knifed a little bit. We also had First Solar. We talked about that yesterday, didn't we? That more of a move here. Look at this move recently in First Solar.
Yeah, this was a move that was I think was supposed to be coming. They got had a pretty good amount of short interest. There was some other news on it that I think it was last year that was making me think it might be a good trade.
Today, price target lowered to 204 from 235 from Goldman Sachs. Stocks plus 20%. Wolf Research upgraded First Solar to outperform, announced a 221 price target. We've talked a lot about some of these solar names. They really do seem to respond to lower interest rates. First Solar getting a move here. Prior to that, we had a couple of banks or firms here say that they don't even see interest rate cuts till the end of the year, and still.
Yeah, and what size interest rate cuts are they looking at if they're going to think end of the year?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they thinking that it's just going to be a huge cut that we're all just waiting for, like 75 basis points in one session? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be doing that. I think
Alex, sorry to hear, man. Sorry to hear. You'll do better tomorrow. Both of those moved here today, so I just assess what happened and just make the changes for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wisdom is asking, anyone else here need to strap your glasses to your head? Now I know why my grandmother had 10 pairs of those.
Master wants us to look at Vuzix.
They had earnings, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They had earnings. They had top and bottom beats, even though it was still an operational loss. There must be something that we need to read into the earnings call transcript or that was in the report itself that's causing it to move like it is. Maybe it's also squeezing as well because the short interest is quite high. We're looking at 22.5 with 13 days to cover. That's candidate.
I'll tell you what, this 240 to 270 area actually represents some pretty decent consolidation in the past. I think we're kind of at a resistance. I think if we clear this out, probably test 3 and then maybe even 4 after that. If we're able to clear this area out that we seem to be at.
I mean, in my opinion, this is a company that
Easy.
Apple should have been paying attention to.
Yeah. Izzy said, I heard 3 cuts today. Izzy, where did you hear that? I'll tell you what, how many cuts? Let me just ask, I'm going to call an audible here. Well, how many cuts do you think we're getting 13 this year? And it's okay to be wrong. I'm not trying to stick you with this.
I think 3.
Really? Okay. So you still do. I'm kind of in the camp that 1 or 2 seems to be the top. I guess we need more prints like we saw here today to justify that, or maybe even inflation falling a little bit more.
Unless something else comes along and makes me think otherwise, it just seems like 3 cuts, 25 basis points each would make the most sense.
Okay.
I know that there's still an inflationary concern, or I don't even know if we're still talking stagflation like we were last month. But I suppose that could still be a possibility. It's just what the data is going to show us. And right now it's showing us that prices are coming down and the job market's still strong. So it could be that we see more rate cuts coming sooner than later. I don't think it's happening in December. I think we're going to, at the very least, if we are going to get 3, we're going to start seeing it in September.
Yeah, September, November, December, right?
Mm-hmm.
Peen says, I see 2 given the 90-day agreement with China. I don't feel that they will cut during that period. I would agree with you. I agree with you, 13. I don't think we see any of these until the end of the year. I think we probably get through the entire summer without one. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, July would be the earliest that I would expect to see any rate cut, and I'm still not even sure we'll even get it then.
Yeah.
September seems to be the most likely.
Yep. You folks, a couple of the bigger stocks that we took a look at here, really, really impressive moves. I'm actually going to go to the bigger chart here on both of them. We're going to start with Coinbase. That one having a substantial move here today, plus 15%. Tell you what, this inverse head and shoulders, this looking really good. I had talked earlier about really wanting to close above both of these moving averages. It looks like we are on track to do that here. This chart looks great. I almost think 278. Your next spot here. I do know, I do understand today we have kind of entered overbought territory. So maybe it backs off, holds the 200 here, and then gives us our next leg up here to 278, 280. I'd love to see that. 300 would be short after that. Coinbase, just an absolutely great move today on really good volume.
That's exactly what these head and shoulders patterns do, whether it be an inverse or a regular. Once you get that right shoulder resolution going, it's going to hit a point where you're going to see some back testing or some cooling, and then it's going to continue with the rest of its resolution. So once we get this back test and then we start printing higher, that's going to be the end of the pattern, and then it can do whatever it wants.
Okay. And then the other one was what was the other SMCI? We had just talked about this recently. SMCI continues to go 13. We are close to the 200-day now. I've got that 200-day at $40 or almost at $38 now. I feel like this is at least $1 higher than when we looked at it before. Today's move brings us above the 50 and the 200 plus a breakout of the channel here. I mean, all of this looks good. Let's get a couple of days under our belt with SMCI. I feel like we've seen head fakes with this name before. Let's get a couple of days under our belt before we feel really good on that one. Jay here saying we might not get any rate cuts. That was the position that I was in. But Jay, I think if we continue to see more data showing inflation is coming in and some of these tariffs are actually going to be at 10%, I think you probably will see some of those interest rate cuts. We'll see. Don't forget, you're also going to get tax reform in the back half of this year. That should be interesting as well.
STFU is saying Powell hates Trump and he'll never give good news.
That's where I was going to go next. Yeah.
So you got to look back to what happened in 2019, because I understand that Powell and Trump, they don't like each other. Powell still has thrown Trump a bone in different ways. It's not necessarily with rate cuts, but the way he talks, if he sounds dovish. That's what happened in 2019. Didn't give the rate cut that Trump and everybody wanted. Market absolutely tanked. And then it turned it around, Powell's dovish comments. And that's when we really started to rally into well, I guess we started to rally into the pandemic, but that's what ended up happening. We turned around there, and then we started getting rate cuts. And throughout the entire time we were getting rate cuts, Trump was just talking all kinds of shit about Powell. So this is gonna be the thing. You're gonna see them back and forth with each other all the time. But Powell's still going to provide some good news.
I agree with you. The one thing I would add to that is, while I agree that Powell and Trump don't necessarily get along, I don't think Powell is the type of guy to prioritize his relationship with Trump over his duties at the Fed. Maybe I'm being naive in that belief. To your larger point there, I don't think it's going to matter, 13. I don't think that their beef back and forth is really going to matter. I think what's going to matter a lot more is the data that we see.
And if Powell's going to really hurt Trump with his getting rate cuts, it's all going to be because it was data dependent. You don't hurt Trump unless it's data dependent.
Okay. ICCT, this is pulling back off of that high that it recently set. We got to 430 and we pulled back off that spot.
Lunar almost lost 12. It was trading underneath it for a moment, but it's back up there. Still haven't gotten the resolution to the downside with Lunar yet. So at this point, it's still consolidating sideways, but I have to think that we're going to see under 12 again.
Tony, nobody is saying that Powell is silly, dumb, or ignorant. I don't think I've come across that opinion one time.
No,
on the stream.
We've just said it's late. There we go. ICCT is now breaking down.
There it is. 344 looks to be that move down. That was your VWAP there. Apple's still at the highs. Amazon with a massive move. That's still at the highs. Let's see, what else do we miss here? Lion mentioning Adobe, as that is continuing. Yeah, I've seen you mention Adobe. I don't know if we have any new trade here on Adobe. I mean, maybe if this breaks out from 400 here. Yeah, maybe right here, 400 to 404. Got a gap fill up to 434. Never mind. Maybe you do have a trigger here on Adobe if it can start doing that.
Is the market starting to get a pull here? It looks like it's just some names, but the market is looking a little weak here. Been going sideways since we hit 10 o'clock. So let's see if we can get some support from this previous all-time high at, what is this, 586.12? Yeah.
HCWB, this is currently bouncing off of the VWAP, off that recent pull. I'd watch 14 as a level to get over if we can. Yeah, thinking about it, that's why I was very specific in what I said on this show. I can appreciate some of the nicknames and jabs, but I don't think that anyone here really kind of turned that over to Powell.
No, I'll leave it to Trump to come up with all the names.
Yeah, that's something. He's better at that than I am anyway.
Surprised he hasn't called him a deadhead yet, though.
I think that's coming, right? I think that sometimes you got to keep your ace cards up your sleeve for when you really need it. And I think that's what's coming here. Powell being a gigantic Grateful Dead fan. All right, some of our movers here not looking all that great. HCWB might be setting up. CNSP might be worth watching if we can get through what is this? The 15 EMA on the 5. We do have a down trend line that we still need to get over. See, LICN, this is one that we talked about earlier. This hasn't done anything here today.
Not really, no. And I think what we want to see is we'd want to see the market, like the SPY, just have a really good bursty move to the upside and, kind of set us up for a short play in some of these directional ETFs. That would be ideal right now because we're not too far away from these VMAs, these VWAPs. Jeez.
I was going to say Video Music Awards.
I don't know where because I combined it with SMA and VWAP.
I know. I do that all the time, dude. I'm the last one to talk.
It looks like we could get a turn up in the SQQQ and some of these bearish ETFs if we got that one last bursty push to extend us a little bit further. Because I wouldn't like to see it start to turn around now. I don't think we'll get a whole lot. We'll go a whole lot of range out of this. on this if it starts to turn around here. But if it has one more big move down, that'd be a really good opportunity to go long on some of these bearish ETFs, I think.
Okay, it looks like some people taking profits there on Boeing VRT call sweeps here. That actually, I wonder if those were closing orders as well.
Here we go with Lunar. This is
85.
This is what I was waiting for with Lunar. We are now coming down pretty hard with that one. Loss of 12. That was all we needed to see. Yep.
Qataris told Trump to stop flying on that 40-year-old airplane and gave him a new one. That plane is actually a Boeing plane. I know there's controversy around that. Not sure how that shakes out for the company. And frankly, if I were the president, I would not necessarily fly around on a plane from a foreign government. That's just me, though.
Yeah, to
that point, he's been talking about replacing Air Force One since its first term. So it really shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I think that's being kind of overblown a little bit. Maybe that's fair to say.
Looks like market's getting pretty weak here. Starting to get some movement down in the SPY. It's unfortunate. I wanted to see some a big move up before we start to get this. ICCT, that's about to go lower. Lunar, trying to get some support, but I think it goes lower. A lot of these names are starting to...
Palantir at a resistance level, an intraday resistance level. Maybe that turns around. I've been hawking Google here. That's GOOG. I actually am on the offer to try and close the last chunk of calls here. I put that order out at 275. I bought those calls for 75 cents, by the way. So trying to get out of those at 275. I was literally the offer, and I did not get filled. Bummer. And we pulled off that spot here on Google. I'll update you. Definitely looking to get out of that here today. Yeah, see, and this was my thought on this too. That plane is going to be rebuilt with many new systems. It'll be gutted. It'll be checked. This was my initial thought. Again, I think there's just a lot of hubbub about that.
Scan it for bugs. That's the first thing you got to do. Scan it for bugs. I'm sure that thing's wired up.
Tony literally calling for our own government to get spied on. I don't know what to say. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, that shouldn't have any negative implications whatsoever.
What's that?
That shouldn't have any negative implications whatsoever.
None. Take care of yourself, Lion.
Ticker line.
Stay green. Hood. You want to take a look at Hood, I see floating around the chat here. Here is ticker Hood. This has been on a massive run too. The one thing, I still think that this probably goes to the 66.75. I think we probably do break down there. You know, did we ask Anne Marie about Hood last time she was on?
I don't know, but I like 65, and then I'd be thankful with what I got. This thing is very extended. 65 is still $4 away. This needs to. It'd be interesting if we actually got a cup and handle with this, to be honest, because it's setting up like it could.
Yeah.
The high RSI.
What do you like? 55 for the handle pullback? What level do you like for that handle pullback? Maybe 58 if this goes a little higher.
Well, if we get up to 65, let me do some math real quick, and I'll tell you what I like.
Okay.
So you just keep chat entertained while I do some math real fast.
Keep chat entertained. All right, chat. I mean, I can dance. I can try and pull a Dan Leach and start dancing here. No, we're not going to do that. I didn't feel like embarrassing myself here today. I am going to run through some of the movers here. MOGO. Holy smoke. This broke the other recent high here. The volume is still expanding here. So we talk about this expanding volume quite a bit. As long as we can see continual sticks pushing higher and moving higher here, I don't think that the upside is done on the stock. Mogo here looks like that recent high 273. ICCT continuing to break down here. That's probably on the backside of the move. Yeah.
With Hood, if we do get another print up at $65 and then start to pull back, I'd like to see the price come down to about 54.5. That's where I think the handle should extend to. That'd be ideal.
Let's you know what I might do? You know what? Let me mark that off on the bigger chart instead of this smaller chart. That way I'll be able to find it. Let's see if we do get that. Here's Hood. So you said 50, what was that again?
54.5.
54.5. I'm going to use a horizontal ray. Here's your 54.40. I see what you were doing in there. I hear you clucking, big chicken.
Well, what I did is usually when it comes to handles and the cup and handle formations, they tend to be about a 30% pullback. Not off the highs, but 30% off of the range from peak to trough. So if I took 65 subtracted by 30 and then did 30% of that, that's how I arrived at 54.50.
Okay. By the way, we had talked a little bit about VIX earlier. It looks like VIX put in a bottom print for the day at 1765. Now it is holding in here. It's currently 1784, so it's holding in this 17 handle. What did you say? 15 was, 13 to 15, I think is that zone to really kind of keep on watch for VIX if it gets down there.
Yeah, because we haven't really been below 17 very much since February. So I still think we could remain elevated as long as all this volatility and tariff stuff is happening. If we got down to 13,
I think we should probably swing inverse instruments at that point, right? Because that's what we saw the market do last time when we got to that level. We might as well just load that up again.
Yeah, so I think that would be probably the better play. It looks like ICCT is trying to get some support here, but
is it really? Okay, let me go back to my main workspace.
The volume's low. I don't expect it to hold, and if it does, I still think it has a daunting.
You're right. It is trying to hold on that 15 EMA.
Yeah, but the volume. All these other ones, CNSP.
Here's some Cold War history for you. Smoke tuna. The Soviets gifted a wooden seal plaque. It hung in the U.S. Embassy in Moscow for 7 years and contained a passive Soviet bug called the Thing, one of the most clever spy devices of the Cold War. That is not something that I knew.
See, you don't need to scan that. It's made of wood.
Now, look over here at this shiny thing that we brought in.
How can be bug if it has wood?
How can be bug? Let's go.
James with the very left field comment here. Can you imagine if dudes wore tights all around town like women do? No.
It's not. Wisdom is in here literally doing his best to try and get men in tights trending.
Oh, man. Looks like Crow is playing GPUs again.
Is that coming back?
Let's see. I got this on my list here.
Yeah, it got a little bit of a volume pop in there.
Yeah, nice break over 715, it looks like.
Actually, I just saw Lobo on there. Nope, that's not really doing anything yet. That's certainly not setting up.
No,
certainly not triggering either, for that matter.
Yes, all these movers that were runners this morning, just not a whole lot there. There was some pops in the morning, and then they just kind of dropped or went sideways. Kind of disappointing, but I also think it's a bit revealing. You had these 300% runners this morning. You had 5 yesterday. I think we're getting to a near-term top.
You just reminded me of a Grandma's Boy scene, and so I lost my train of thought right there. That was impressive. 13.
That was a fun movie.
Oh God, let me tell you something. That movie is something else. I feel like that movie was literally in the theater for 30 minutes before they're like, nope, get this thing out of here. Nobody wants to see this. And then it became a cult classic when it went to DVD.
Yep.
Cult classic. Oh, there's so many good one-liners from that. That's very flattering and revealing, Alex. All right, Tesla call sweeps coming across. Tesla actually spiking on this.
Because he's live on Elon's live on NBC.
Oh, is it? Yes, he is. Elon is actually interviewing. I don't think that's MBS. But yeah, I can't hear this, but yes, he is live giving some speech in Riyadh.
Oh, he's in.
Oh, he's talking about robots doing the Trump dance. Oh, for heavens. Can you imagine the amount of triggered people that are going to be out there when the robots from Tesla are doing the Trump dance? I just want peace. I just want peace. And I feel like that's going the other direction when that happens. We're going to have some angry folk.
I can't comment on the Trump dance because this is a family show.
We'll leave it at that then.
Yeah.
We will leave it at that. Let's see here. I don't
with
think I see.
wisdom laying it out for you, buddy.
Yeah, what's the I actually at this point now I spend energy trying to skip over Wisdom's comments until I can come back to them, because they're all about me in tights, my body, things I like. Like it's odd. I truly wish you were a brother in my personal family. You would have been a good spiritual heartfelt mentor. Everyone needs a little bit of Ryan in the morning. Well, don't I feel like an asshole for saying that?
Oh, man.
That was very nice of you, Wisdom.
Maybe we are getting this movement in the market that I'm looking for. That's going to set us up for the SQQQ. It's still
Are we far enough away yet? We need $1.10 at least on that.
We're not. That's why I'm looking for the another big move.
So the one thing that I think is pretty clear here, couple of things for this trade. Number one, if you're going to take this trade early, you need a very, very quick move in either direction. That's the only way you're going to get enough separation from the VWAP. If you don't get that move, the longer this goes throughout the day, the smaller that impulse move needs to be. So if you're looking at this in the afternoon, you might need like for the SQQQ, we would need a smaller move to the highs than we do right now for this trade to set up. Yeah. So just something else to keep in mind. I've been kind of watching that. STFU says, Ryan, we need a swimsuit calendar from you. And now I don't even know how to feel about life. Good Lord. You don't need that.
Well, take care, Judge. I guess he's out because we got into the swimsuit talk.
Must be. Judge, I don't blame you, bro. Sorry. I'm just rolling with the punches here. Have a great rest of your day. Keep spreading that positivity, man. Appreciate that.
There was this comment here I was looking at.
Market actually looks like it might be trying to go higher, by the way, especially the Qs.
Good. That's what we want. So Elon pumping Optimus. So that's probably what Tesla's going to end up being, in my opinion. I really lost faith in the whole robotaxi thing. They've been talking about that since before the pandemic, has yet to materialize. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is starting to move into robotics, and I think that's going to be the play for Tesla, is to be selling robots for 20-30K. I just don't see it. The EVs don't have that appeal right now. Maybe it comes back later. Maybe Tesla as a car company is not done yet, but I think their future is going to be Optimus. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that the automation angle via robots, I think Optimus is going to be one of these, but I think there are going to be other robotic systems that they're going to be able to develop off of Optimus that will also proliferate. As far as the car, here's the funny thing about cars. I don't think the EV technology is going away. I think that there definitely needs to be some refinement in EV technology. Like, it's cool, like the amount of like low end torque that you're able to get, and the fact that you don't have to fill up and all of that. But I think there's still going to need to be some pretty dramatic improvements and tweaks to the tech. The thing about the car, though, dude, all it takes is one killer design. You come up with one car that a lot of people really like, throw a whole bunch of really good tech in that thing, and on top of it, you don't have to fill it with gas. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't start on fire very often. You can change that in a hurry. So I don't want to, I never say never, right? I don't want to necessarily write it off. But right now, my biggest problem, I think the car is ugly. All of them. Sorry if that's an unpopular opinion, but I think they're all ugly. Pete says at least Elon is working again. Got an FSD update yesterday after 4 months. They typically come 1 to 2 weeks before before Doge. You're right, Pete. He probably was sitting down coding that himself. Am I right?
It's just that we've been hearing about this robotaxi thing for so long, and even the full self-driving, same thing. I need to see some results.
Yeah,
really
no,
do. It's been too long.
and you're not wrong for wanting that either. That's the other thing. Like, I'm with you on that.
He's talking tunnels as well, so I guess the Boring Company is still in business.
And Tess is exactly correct here. Tess saying Musk over a year ago said the robots would be bigger than the car. And that was way before all the controversy. That's correct. And by the way, Tess, I don't know if you remember, folks laughed at him when he said that. They laughed at him.
Hey, Glenn, quantum roads are next, dude.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
But also, you got to think about what he's planning to do with his Optimus robots. He's got them set up to go to the moon, to Mars, to kind of set everything up for a human's arrival. So you have SpaceX. It's likely going to be buying, self-dealing here. So, SpaceX is going to be buying those robots to send on those missions, which is going to be funded by NASA and probably Space Force.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, this is all coming from the U.S. government, funneling down through Elon's companies. That's ultimately going to be a big revenue stream for him going to Mars and going to the moon, and a lot of it's going to be funded by the U.S. taxpayer.
James here, going back and forth with Amanda. I saw lots of stories about Teslas not charging in the cold. So I literally saw vehicles. Forget stories. I firsthand saw vehicles that literally wouldn't start in the cold. The charging angle was a little bit different, though. I'm pretty sure that it charges a little bit slower if it's cold. Amanda saying, I've never had a problem. I bet the older ones did. There's a preconditioning feature that warms up the elements before charging. See, it's all about the slow charge, and they've already kind of thought through that problem there. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm just kind of beyond the full self-driving things with when we have EV tools coming out or starting to get produced. Now I know that that's a big departure away from what everybody is thinking, that like they're going to all be flying around like the Jetsons or something. That's not happening for a very long time. But self-driving EV tools, I think that's going to be sooner than later. We've already got a lot of companies coming out with some really interesting EV tool systems. So
real quick here, Saudi Arabia approved Starlink for maritime and aviation uses. That came out of that interview that was going on right then. STFU, this was a really good mention. I'm sorry we were in conversation there. SOUN did break. This broke higher. This actually took out the impulse move from the open. Shout out to you for staying on top of that there. CNSP still hasn't broke down, and pretty soon we're actually going to have a trend line test here. Unsure if that's going to have strength to really move it to the upside, but that's something to watch. Lunar here, maybe curling back through its VWAP.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's trying to turn up. It's got to recapture 12. Looks like some of these other movers from this morning are, after this selling we just had, they're trying to turn back up as well, but on low volume. So we might not get some breakouts here on these. Just keep that in mind. And we're already past 10:30, so volume's already left. Do I need to start wrapping up here?
So we are going to have Anne Marie. She did say she was going to be a couple of minutes late.
Okay.
I didn't know how many minutes, so I figured I would just keep it rolling here.
Okay.
But you have to wake up pretty early in the morning to get one past 13. It seems, as you have your eye on the clock. So yeah, I'd say let's give it another minute here, then we can start wrapping up. Chat, why don't you start thinking about some stocks that we might want to set up option trades for here? Anne-Marie does a wonderful job of coming prepared with content, but I know she would always rather hear from the group. So if you have something, let us know. And you're welcome, Kev. Thanks for all your support as always, my man.
Look at HCWB do some stuff here. It just is going
that crazy. Broke out too.
Yeah. Yep. So that one, and that's pretty much it from the movers list that broke out. But that's coming right back in. Look at that thing. So,
Decker's Outdoors. This chart actually looking pretty good. They got earnings next week.
Yeah, be careful with HCWB. If you want to ask Anne Marie about a particular stock, have her look at those cake and play stocks.
You know what? The options chains might not be great for those, but we're going to take a look. I can actually do some of the. In fact, I can do that right now while we're waiting. But I happened to glance over. Check it out. Google almost back to the highs. Just get back up here, 161.42. Come on, another 30, 40 cents. I'm going to get filled on this.
Hey, nobody get any FOMO with HCWB. This is it can go on a great run. That's fine, and everything. But you look at the spread, you look at how much it can whip around. I mean, up until just now, 1733 was probably going to be the price that a lot of backholders were going to be holding their stock onto. So don't be one of those folks that ends up bailing out the sellers.
So, Wisdom, love this. The term Ryan is an Irish name, and I am Irish, derived from Gaelic surname Rainan, or however you're supposed to pronounce that, meaning the descendant of Rian. The personal name Rian likely means little king. So, Wisdom, I have been dining out on the fact that my name means king since I was like 12 years old. I read that in a book, and that was all I needed to see. I have tried to leverage that any chance that I can get. Glad to hear you know the truth. I'll take that.
So you got to come on the show tomorrow and introduce yourself as King Ryan Faluna.
So we already had some. So I already did Lord Ryan, and that was actually a legit earned title, and people weren't sure what to make of that. I'll go ahead and show you the certificate. I can prepare that for tomorrow, but I'm not going to go so far as to say king. I'm not going to do that. Sorry.
I'm getting asked where I think Mogo can go to. Let's see. MOGO.
Oh, by the way, so they were just showing that Saudi investment forum that Musk was speaking at. Apparently, Trump is going to speak there pretty soon. Who knows if that's going to move an individual stock or the broader market? Just keep it on your radar. Sorry for interrupting you, 13.
No worries. Honestly, Mogo, I think this needs to come back in. I'm looking at a daily chart. RSI is over 81. That's still pretty extended. I don't know anything about this company. So I think that if anything, it's going to have to come in some more because it's pretty extended. Can it, continue to rally and be absolutely crazy? Sure. Don't know where that top's going to be. Floats 21 million shares, so a little bit thicker, but not too thick. That's difficult to move around. I think you already got some pretty good resistance at the area it ran up to near 280. Based on past price action, 280 seems to be about the big resistance area that it's been having the toughest time getting above since February of 2023. So,
all right, let's wrap. It's Anne-Marie time.
All right, have fun with Anne-Marie, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Great job on the trades today. And,
yeah, it was.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, this really was a great job. 13, great breakdown from start to finish. You came in hot today. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, boss. That is 13. Joe here saying, guys, please talk Meta. Where do you see it stopping? I keep buying in and selling at good profit, but it keeps going. I see resistance maybe at 675. Well, guess what, Joe? You're in luck because the first question I'm going to ask Anne-Marie about is Meta. Let's go ahead and say hello to Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, hello. Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning, everyone. Hope we're having a great morning. We got short sellers getting squeezed in this market, I think.
We sure do.
So taking a look at Meta would be a great idea.
I absolutely love it. Just so you're aware, Anne-Marie, we are definitely seeing the bears get hurt here, but you'll be happy to know that we have our own resident friendly bear whose name is Mama Bear, and she's not getting squeezed. She's having a great day here today. So we're holding it down here. As far as Meta goes, I completely agree. As long as it's good with you, let's start with that.
Yes, it's always good when Mama Bear stuffs Goldilocks in the closet.
See, I knew you were going to do something great like that. Anne-Marie had greatness written all over it.
All right, so let's go to Meta. Something interesting I do want to share for those of you that have the Thinkorswim platform. There is something that can help you for big futures trades that pop in and tell you what's going on with price levels. But what we're seeing here in Meta is a really big bounce up into an implied vol level that is pretty important. So Joseph, I think Joseph,
Yep.
yes, Joseph was saying, hey, I keep getting out at good profit and then it keeps going up. Here's what I want to say, Joseph. In this kind of market where we have tons of reflexive motion, big up moves, good retracement levels, be proud of yourself that you're getting in at good levels, getting out and taking profit. It's okay to leave something on the table. You don't have to sit in to the edge. A lot of times that causes really bad behavior in general. So what I want to take a look at is the option chains in Meta. And we've got a really $18 move is what it has from the open today, which was 645. So that makes it 663 on the top end for the week closing. And then we have another week that's $10 wider, up at 28. But let's take a look at market structure. Okay, so I'm sort of harping on this because it helps us a lot define what price action is doing from a big picture perspective and where we can sort of find our way into the motion. So I'm going to delete all these drawings so it's nice and clean. And market structure is simply swing low to swing high, moving from left to right. So this bottom right here, all the way back at December, gives us a very big piece of market structure action that the chart is right in the middle of. And wouldn't you know it, the implied volatility move for this Friday is right up at the 661 to 663 level. So be advised that this is in a bit of a topping space as it continues to rise up into this area. Notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days sitting in this range. That means there's volume sitting at that area. Price action continues to move up, but it's coming into a zone where a lot of traders have sold that edge. And so here's the tricky bit. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, we got a lot of bullish activity, this could continue to move to the upside, all kinds of really nice things going on, I'm going to stay long or I'm going to initiate a new long on any kind of pullback on, say, an hourly formation, right? So if we go to the hour, we take a look at that, we can say, hey, you know what? It's probably got another $10 on it and it might head a fair bit higher. 740 is the top of that wave action. My suspicion is that they're going to chop around here, pull back, collect a little bit more volume, and then move to the upside. This is I think it's a 200. Yes.
Mhm.
The purple is a 200 simple moving average on the hourly. Everything still says buy the dip. Everything says buy the dip. The question is, are we getting in at a peak formation or are we getting in a region where there's significant upside? And for me, that would make me look at volume. And notice yesterday's opening volume region much higher than today's opening volume region. And so we could be having ourselves a little stall. The next thing we want to look at is momentum. Momentum was very high over here. Price actions moved higher. Momentum has not, right? Now the RSI is at a very big area. Notice the last time the RSI was up there, we had a 4-day tranche that came down into the moving average and then came into this zone. What would I do? I would suspect some kind of fade on a topping formation. So let's go set that up.
Perfect.
If we want to say, hey, I want a small trade, I'm just going in for a few days. I want to see what the market structure does. I'm going to see if it can pull in. Where would my target be? Well, let's go back to that chart and take a look at something simple like the VWAP at 650 or the open of the week, right, at 645. And then here's a very big volume line. That's a volume point of control that I've got measured on here. That's all the way down at 630. So I would split the difference. I would say, okay, let's look from 650 to 640 to 630 and see what that looks like
Okay.
for the next bit. So 650, yes, sir.
Oh,
40.
nice read there. I was just going to ask here. Sometimes with some of these butterflies, we often have a spread that's a little bit wider. Are we a little bit tighter on the spread because the time horizon is much shorter? We're talking about contracts that expire here in 3 days, or is it not related?
It can be related. It's more about where price compression is sitting.
Okay.
And there feels like there's a lot of price compression. Notice the difference in price between the one expiring in 4 days versus the one expiring at the end of the week. They're almost identical, right? 20 cents
you're
apart.
right. They're really not that much. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thought would be pay the upsell price and get yourself in that range. It's got a lot of two things you'll get from going to the 23rd. One, you get it a little cheaper. Two, you have a little more time on your hands. And then three, you'll be able to really move out. If the move becomes dramatic, you can just go, sell to cover. And that's what we would be staring down.
Okay.
That would be my thought for that. Now, let's say you're like Anne-Marie. Are you betting against America? No.
They don't know Anne-Marie.
Never. If you're looking for the upside, here's my thought. Listen, the pain trade right now is short action. So number one, I would wait to see it test this big fat round number of 660. Then I would put the order in. It wouldn't be now. Give it time to blow off its edges and then position. You maybe be able to get this at 70 cents, right? And then you could put your stop for maybe a 50% stop loss. So you only have $35 at risk. And then you watch it come down into these edges. Notice the volume drifting off as price action moves higher. Volume is not going in the same direction. We have a lot of things that suggest a little bit of mean reversion is on the horizon. So, Joseph, wait for the fade, probably 645 to 640, which is where we're positioning our middle strike at that 640 level. And then watch it there. It should be able to pull forward. So nice, quick, tight, reflexive move based on the way the market is going.
Okay. All right. Really great breakdown there. Joe, hope you like that. That is awesome. Anne-Marie, I don't know if you have stocks on your list. We had a couple here that we—
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
13 before he left suggested Cake and Play. That is Cheesecake Factory and Dave and Buster's. Cheesecake Factory actually looks like this does have enough volume in the option chain, so maybe we can do that. Play, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Let's start with those. We can do UNH if that doesn't have enough volume.
Okay, so let's take a look at the chains for Cake. Not a ton of vol here.
Yeah. That's what I was worried about. I did see there was some open interest, but you're right on the volume.
Yeah. Let's talk about catalyst. Does Cake have a catalyst coming? I don't know. Let's do some market structure. Let's
Well,
find. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing there, I mean, it is literally staring at us. We have an inverse head and shoulders right there. We
Yeah.
this thing back tested whatever trend line that is for
Yeah.
you or whatever moving average, but that sure looks like an inverse head and shoulders with a neckline that we're trying to move above. I don't
Yep.
know if that's your catalyst there, but
Yeah, that could really be sort of a big thing. Let's do what the vol is telling us. So to the end of the month, it's only giving us $1.94 for the options end,
Mhm.
excuse me. And so let's go to June and see what we've got. Structurally, it's giving us $5. There's a little bit of volume that you could move here, but it might be spread that might be better for you to look at. So we opened up at 52. So we got $5 to the upside and then the downside. So that gives us 47 and then 57. So let's look at 57. Oh, that's a top. That's very nice. So that works there. 57 and then 47. Also very interesting, edge of the shoulder. So what would you do in a situation like this? For me, I would sell an iron condor. So let's see if it gives us any room to do that.
okay.
Because we've got a lot of structural events. This is
Mhm.
a very high volume area. And so we have literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days of arguing around this zone. So if you want it to be directional and you go, hey, this thing's going to go to 55, if you're saying that, we might have a catalyst for it to go to 55, listen, that call is 25 cents. 55.25 is going to be your break even. That's a pretty nice shot for an upside event. If you're thinking, yeah, I think this is going to go up, right? I believe that the market is really getting squeezed. There's so many macro guys, Ryan, and you and I know this, that are so stinking bearish.
Yep.
And they are in a pain trade right now. And so that pain trade is very likely to drive prices higher in the short run.
Yep.
Very, very likely. And so that, it's rare that I come out and go, hey, how about the call there? But it's 25 cents. And yes, it could move just the $2, but that still takes you up over the hump, right? So give it a go if you're like, if you're thinking, hey, I want to try that. But on the edges, which we have 57.47, my brain, I can't remember anything. So we have, not a lot of premium, not a lot of premium at all. And so if we go, that would be very tight. 57.50 to 60, so it's $2 wide. 47.50 to 45, 250.
That doesn't really give you enough, does it?
Yeah, it gives us it really doesn't. It doesn't give us enough from that perspective.
Okay.
So I would say nothing really pretty there.
Okay.
Risk awfully high. $250 of risk for only $70 of
profit.
Upside pressure, right? We'd want it to be at least $125, right? We want it, especially in something like this, we want a good portion of that to be available to us in this kind of space. So
really quickly here, 13 had added that the Cake just had its earnings, so its binary event is out of the way, and it plans to open more restaurants this year. He also goes on to say they have large short interest, both of them, Cake and Play, Dave and Buster's. So I think the thought here was potential move to the upside. You had just talked there about the market, the bearish folks being in the pain trade right now. We might see that play out in some of these names.
Absolutely.
Kind of like you're just straight up calls Honestly, they're not very
too.
expensive, fairly low risk. If everything lines, if the stars line up, like 13 is saying here, you can get max profit on those calls.
Absolutely. I mean, literally, risk to reward, totally worth it. We have the inverted head and shoulders. We've got people that are short, that are caught flat-footed. We've got upward pressure in the market formations. I mean, there's a lot saying it's upside, and shorts are still trying to. You look at the SPY, I mean, they're trying to short the highs every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah, they
And
are.
every shallow pullback, they're getting shredded.
Yep. Okay, do we want to take a look at play? Or should we
Absolutely.
just move?
Let's give it a go.
Let's do that
We can
real
at
quick.
least
We'll
talk
probably
about
spend
that.
a little
Yeah.
bit less time there, but I do like the idea of doing UNH. A lot of talk about
Yes.
United Health here today. You got the CEO leaving, the whole 9 yards. So, or a
Yeah.
new CEO
Yeah.
being named, excuse me.
Yeah. So let's just do a market structure event down here at the base. It's just popped up over the top. Let's see where the 150 is. 2431 retrace event. All right. So breaking out like everybody else, crossing the 10, cross the 63. So upside pressure there also. We have a little bit of negative drift, but volume is holding fairly steadily on the move. Dips, I like the dip being the pullback here. So when a dip is a pullback, a couple things you can do. First of all, they're only pricing in $1.40 on the move. And these option sellers mostly win. So if we're looking at saying, hey, listen, I'd like to see, I'd like to be able to sell a put and maybe acquire this for the next move to the upside. You can sell the 21s. Those are, a quarter. You get price in below 21, which is very, very nice. I think we ought to move because there's so few days. Let's take a look at what's going on up here, right? We've got a $5.70 move for the month ahead. So that puts us at 27, and then help me here. 27 and
2770.
10 and 17. 27
Oh,
and
sorry,
17.
the other way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So 27 and 17. 17 puts us right here on that edge, and 27 puts us right at the edge of a big volume break. So what do we anticipate there? Here's the thing. Anything can happen in this market, but my suspicion is that they are going to stay in between these two levels.
Okay.
So better to wait for the fade into 1950, $20, and then try the long, or sell the top of the range. Now, if you go and you say, hey, why can't I just buy it outright at the top of the range at 27? Listen, it's only 80 cents. It's 80 cents. It's a big move. You're going to have to hold it for a bunch of the month. And when it gets to about 25, where this line is, all this structural support, you want to cover it, or at least cover part of it on that edge. But straight out calls, not overly expensive here. If you're looking for maybe 70% return, 80% return, I like it.
Okay, and let's finish up today, I guess, with UNH.
Yeah. Man, that one's in the hurt locker.
Yeah, sure is. Tons of action here. Tons of bad news. Lot of stuff going on with UNH here.
Yeah. What do you think? speaking as a guy who really has his finger on the pulse of news, what do you think the biggest driver of this downward draft is?
Sentiment.
Okay, do you
Sentiment,
think
because
it's
this all
related?
started, because this all kind of started with the assassination of the prior CEO.
Okay, so do you think that our health secretary's agenda has anything to do with this movement here?
I go back and forth on this. I want to say yes and no because of his stance on vaccines, but he has a contrarian stance on like peptides and things like that I think will actually. I go back and forth in it. I would say yes. I would say it probably does. Yes.
Okay, so this is my suspicion as well, that it's a combination of, holy cow, something's going to hit the fan here, and these guys are sitting in a space where they are taking the most heat. So the last time I talked about a very big Dow instrument trying to hold a floor, it totally broke on me, right? It literally broke down on me. And so here I'm looking at old resistance. This is our last breakout ledge, as it were. That's right at the round $300 area. I would not be surprised if it continued into that zone. But let's see what the chains tell us. Let's see where they're piling up. All right. Very quickly.
I think 13 had a spot at 300 for this to be a possible buy spot. I can't wait to see how this shakes out.
Yeah. So here we are. Let's take a look at a longer cycle trade. A lot of volume and open interest at that 300. A lot of people seeing it. So if we did a butterfly there that said, hey, it's going to come into 300, maybe even go to 290 and then stall out. Look, that's 35 cents for $1,000 upside, right? So 45 bucks for $1,000 upside move. Looks pretty good from where I stand from a risk to reward perspective. The chains.
You want me to make it look better?
Give it to me.
UNH, they just lost their second CEO in 6 months. They paused guidance, and there's something more going on internally that's just not being made public. This is the thought of the group here. One of our other chart hawks here says UNH is in a free fall, and we have not found the bottom yet. So this put trade that you're setting up here, I actually might follow you into this one.
Yeah, I do like this one.
Me too.
I think this is one. I'm going to try and put it out there. Price is moving all over the place, but I'm going to try and put it out there and see if I can get it at 50 cents. So listen, it could be support and resistance, but when support and resistance lines follow along with volatility events, it's the sweet spot for sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely the sweet spot. So we've got $41 here. So that puts us at 358, and then 360, 370, 376. So that, oh wow, it's run right into its levels already. That's super interesting. Super, super interesting. Let's take a peek at intraday motion very quickly, and let's see if we can see what price action's going on here. Am I up at the edge of the hour?
We have actually nothing behind us, so let's finish this right. Because Paul's on Friday here. So let's finish our thought here on UNH.
Okay, so here's what's happened. We had this savage move, ton of volume here. So if we can get back up over 330, It's going to invalidate the short. And we're getting in there so cheaply that it's not a bad trade from that space. If per happenstance you say to yourself, you know what, this has fallen enough, it's got to have a reflexive move. Look at the top. This is Mike Webster's RSI.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really negative RSI formations. The momentum has not shifted yet, though. And so I would wait to see if it comes into that 300 before trying to take a long, or see that it closes up over 330, because, you know, the price action in the market is continuing to move to the north. And so we'll see if it catches mid there. But yeah, I like that downward pressure event. If you're saying to yourself, you know, I hear you, Missy, but what if this is a floor? What am I looking for? The key event is to say, where did the chart absolutely break down? Where was the volume just a place where everybody said, okay, good night, Irene, I'm out of here. And that was really the loss of 375. Once 375 got taken out, the traders just literally have been running for the hills.
That's the free fall that one of the
yeah.
chatters is talking about here. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so until some news comes out, this is going to be continued downside action. And, you know, that big fat round number at 300, it should get pierced based on the slope of trend. I like the short action here.
Okay.
I do. I like the short action here.
Anne Marie, I love it. We did it yet again. Are we going to be back here on Friday this week?
Hopefully so. My husband has a bit of a complex ablation that's due. It's one of the last pieces of the surgery. And so we should be in post-op by then. So the answer is probably yes, but I will know by Thursday, because they'll be able to give us the timing event of what's going on.
Okay, you heard it here. Folks, can we get some prayers and some hands together for Anne Marie's husband here? We hope that everything goes well. Health is wealth, Anne Marie. So I'm sure the group will understand. If you can't make it, keep me posted. And I'll come up with a backup plan just in case. Smash up the like for Anne Marie, please. Prayers out for her husband. Really good stuff here, Anne Marie. Thanks again for all of your time and all of your expertise.
Thank you, Ryan. Always a pleasure.
All right. We will see Anne Marie on Friday. And if not, we will definitely see here on Tuesday. Really good stuff here today, folks. As I mentioned earlier, Paul Meeks has been moved to Friday this week. So we're all done here for today. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see some of you on happy hour later today. The rest of you tomorrow morning.